and I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Coos County. Hello, Oregon. Hello, America, and beyond. I am so glad that all of you are able to join me today. This is going to be a really cool show. I've got some real important news that we need to talk about. And I'm going to give you my take on where we're going and what it means to us as a country to be going where we're in the direction we're going right now, not just for the federal government, but for the state government. Oregon took a huge left turn this year, and we now have a super minority of Republicans, which means we have a super majority of Democrats, and we are going to be facing, a lot of really bad laws that are going to be coming out of Salem, and I'm going to be talking about that. I've got a guest coming on here in a few minutes, and we're going to be talking about the railroad situation here in Coos County. But later in the show, we're going to be talking about the legislature. That's happening on January 21st. Isn't it strange? They've got the inauguration for President Trump. They have that going on the 20th, and then the next day the Oregon legislature goes into session. So you've got one state going to the left while you got most of the country going to the right. It's a very weird scenario that's playing out, and we're going to be, it's just going to be an interesting year because the Oregon legislature, much of the budget for Oregon depends on a lot of grants that are going to come in from the federal government. So I would imagine that if Trump and the Trump administration was smart, they would use that as a way to influence Oregon and Oregon legislation. And there are also a lot of people in the Oregon legislature who are in purple districts who are going to have to be very careful how they vote. But I don't think it really matters because they got enough damn Democrats up there to pass most of their extreme agenda. Whatever the worst of the worst you can imagine is going to happen. But what's happening here in Coos County is that we've got a container facility coming in. And when they bring that container facility in, they're going to put it out on the North Spit, right where the LNG, close to where the LNG project was going to be out there in the North Spit. And which was the liquid natural gas plant. It was that plant. It had taken so long for them to figure out whether they were going to do it or not over there on the North Spit. Years and years ago, it was an import LNG import facility. And within 10 years, we had become so successful with our own liquid natural gas that we liquefied natural gas that we were able to turn the import facility into an export facility. And amazing how things like that works. Just amazing how the market just turns around and allows counties and states to be able to maneuver like that in the market. But it took so long to go through the process of trying to put that liquid natural gas facility in, the LNG in, and Pembina. I think that was it. Pembina. I think that was the Pembina. I think that, yeah, Pmbina. I forget the company's name, but the last company who was involved, they spent a lot of money on a lot of different studies, environmental impact studies, and in the end, it was rejected because the state is very anti-fossil fuel, which in itself is a very bad term. Fossil fuel isn't really correct. It's not fossil fuel. It's something that's produced by the earth itself. And so, yeah, we're going to have to deal with this new cargo container, intermodal a facility coming in, and it's going to be very interesting because there's a lot of requirements that are going to be put on the person who is putting that plant in there. And I hear there is one buyer, he has like $500 million to dedicate to this project. But of course, just like any project, especially in the state of Oregon, the owner of this planned cargo container facility is going to have his hands out asking for our tax dollars. And anyone who's in the market and has their hand out asking for tax dollars and all these subsidies, I think the people should have a little bit more say in what their business is. And if you don't want the government or the people to have say over your business, well, don't take any tax money. You don't take tax money, then we won't get up in your business. But you take our tax dollars, and I don't care if it's a legitimate program or not. Well, we're going to have discussions going on. But one of the problems is that the infrastructure for our nation is falling apart. The infrastructure is falling apart. And I saw a video today that was taken probably about a year ago. I'll ask him. Doug Washington is coming on here. And Doug Washington, the man, the myth, I mean, he is an incredible person. It's amazing the things he's done. I mean, he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner. I didn't know whether you knew that about him. Yes, he's a classical violinist. Yes, a very skilled chemist. I mean, the guy is incredible. I mean, he's going to solve the world's problems one problem at a time. And right now, one of the things he's working on, other than many of the other problems we have in Coos County, is he took a beautiful video of a very well unmaintained bridge or a trestle. It's a train trestle, and it's right over there by the McCullough Bridge. And when I'm going to get him on here, but the first thing that I want to do is, for my special guest, I have to ask that if the audience to please give a huge applause for my guest, Doug Washington. The audience loves you, man.
It's too much. It's too much. I get that everywhere. I can't walk into Walmart anymore without getting that.
I know. It's hard. It's hard to be someone on your level. And it's funny. Every time I go to your Facebook page, I get so damn jealous. How do you do it, man?
It's crazy. You mentioned I was an accredited concert violinist. Unlike the guy that works at SWAC, who is a pianist who likes the kids. A pianist. Yes, he likes the children. But we'll be talking about that more as time comes on. I've been kind of taking a break on that with the holidays and whatnot. Thank goodness they're over. Thank goodness the holidays are over. It's a great time of year, but it's become too much. It's too much about buying. It's too much about largesse. It's too much. I'm a staunch capitalist, but the runaway consumerism with this holiday season is disgusting to me. And frankly, it puts me off of everything it's supposed to stand for.
But don't you feel like you're being extorted because you have to go out and buy a gift for damn near everyone? The neighbors just gave me a gift. I got to get something for them. Some workers gave me a gift. I got to get something for them. My second cousin from, twice removed gave me a gift. And you know what I mean? Then there's the kids. It's like, I don't know. My wife and I both complain at each other that we're spoiling the kids and we're spoiling the grandkid, but yet it's like we're in a competition who can buy the best damn present.
Yeah, you do it anyway. Exactly. It's like, we have to stop doing it. We have to stop doing it. Yeah, give me two of those. Yeah, we have to stop doing it. Yeah, it's out of control.
I went to Walmart and which on Christmas, Walmart is like one of Dante's levels of hell when you go to Walmart during Christmas. And
everybody. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Everybody that runs a wheelchair and wears PJs is in Walmart at that time. Not that there's aren't people that don't belong, but some of you, it's because you're in PJs all the time and you can't put down the ding dongs. That's all I want to say.
I think some of them need to get up and shop on their own. My favorite is the person who's using a wheelchair, but then gets out of the wheelchair to get stuff off they're picking up 5-pound bags of sugar. And you're like, well, if you can pick up a 5-pound bag of sugar and lift it off the lowest shelf, I think you probably qualify for, walking your ass around the store, and it might help you.
I would think. And again, there's always exceptions. I shouldn't say there's sometimes exceptions, but that's just where we've come. And, you talk about that, we're breaking down as a society. We're getting more and more out of shape. I'm in the worst shape I've ever been. Pear-shaped is a shape, but I love to eat. I love food. I love, just living that lifestyle. But it's happening to our nation as a whole. You were talking about our infrastructure. It's not just us. The nation itself is reflective and an embodiment of what we have become, and vice versa. You talk about that bridge video. The weather's nice. My plan is to go out sometime the next few days and do an updated video. Not that it's going to change a bunch in a year, but I know they have been working on it. I don't know how much you can work on it. I wouldn't want to go across that thing. There's support, there's diagonals, there's structural pieces all over the place. I don't think anything on that bridge was set up for aesthetics. I think it's all for functionality. Yet there are holes that you could walk through on that thing. And I'm pretty sure at no point did the engineers that put that thing together and design it go, you know what, if this thing rusts to crap in 100 years and you could drive a truck through the holes, it'll be just fine. I don't think that was their intent.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I do you know how old that bridge is?
I want to say it's somewhere around 100 years old. And I knew last year because someone had reached out and actually told us how old it was. Maybe not quite, maybe 80, whatever it is, it's been there a while, and it's in an extremely harsh environment. The concrete is in the salt water, and people think that, the air itself has salt in it. It doesn't. People say, like, oh, the salt air here corrodes things. That is an absolute misnomer. That's not factual. That's why when you say you boil a tea kettle, not that anybody does that anymore, and all those minerals and stuff stay in the tea kettle, and then you have the steam. The minerals can't transit. They can't transgress from the water into the steam. They stay. So it's not salt air, but there is splashing of salt, and there's the constant inundation of rain and wind, and you have fecal matter from all the birds on there. I mean, there's generations of pigeons have lived on that thing. Yes. It's in rough shape. Now, my understanding is that it's owned by the Port of Coos Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, it's not a public infrastructure, but it still is very indicative and representative of what we see across the nation. I used to travel across America a lot. I used to travel a lot, everywhere a lot. Mm-hmm. And I would see that decay and rot. I would go into like great little towns that I knew were something amazing 50, 60 years ago. And you see those places. I mean, look at us here. That bridge is so symbolic of what we have going on here. Look at in Empire, Tara's old district, that place that used to be a bar and grill or whatever. It is just getting worse and worse, and it's boarded up. It should be burnt to the ground. We drove by there today to go for our morning drive after we dropped the kids off at school. We literally watched a rat. We had to stop at a red light just outside the former Devereaux Center, and we watched a rat run across the road. It was like I'm not even making this up. It's like it knew how to use the lights. Middle of the day, a rat is running outside. That is so third world, and nobody bats an eye here. Everybody's become desensitized to it.
No, I'm surprised there wasn't a bum chasing it. Come here, Ralphie. Come here, Ralphie.
Right.
Yeah. It's totally indicative of where our country is going. We're starting to become an older nation, and we're talking trillions of dollars of infrastructure for across this nation that it's going to take to rebuild this stuff because it's 80, 90, 100 years old.
Yeah. And
they've got this intermodal. I always get the word wrong. I think it's called intermodal container cargo place.
Yep.
Shipment container cargo coming in, and the whole idea is to take all of that stuff that comes in out of here by train. So I would imagine they would have to use that trestle.
And we do see locomotives go across it every now and then. I had somebody on Facebook saying that it hasn't been used since 2005. That's not true. We've seen that thing be used at times. Sometimes we're driving over the McCullough Bridge, and you'll see cars going across, like box cars going across. My understanding is that it's not for human transport, thankfully, but even still, at what point? So again, trillions upon trillions of dollars. The problem I have with so much of this right now is that a lot of these infrastructure works that we have were put in place by kind of leftist administrations, people that spent tons of tax money doing that. And I'm not opposed to taxes. I'm not opposed to tax dollars being spent on some stuff. We need it for the defense. We need it for some infrastructure, but it has to balance out somewhere. You can't just throw money at it willy-nilly and expect it to keep going on. Coos County is like a classic example. You could write a treatise on this subject, just basing it on Coos County. So where do we get the money from? I don't know. Maybe we start by removing a lot of the restrictions on people, like manufacturing. Oh, okay. Hey, I want to make wood stoves. You and I, Rob, we're going to get together. We're going to make wood stoves for a living. Well, we can't necessarily manufacture them here because there's EPA regulations on the manufacture. Okay, so we're going to move to a district where they allow us to build them. So we can have this smelter. We're going to build these things. Well, you've now made these, but now we've changed the emission standards for these wood stoves. So you can't build these. You have to restructure and retool. And this is like a real world example. I actually watched something on that this morning. And these folks had moved around the country and had to change and retool their system like every 18 months to every 2 years to keep up with the EPA recommendations and stuff. We have to be good stewards of what we have, but it's gotten out of control. There's too much control on everybody.
Yep. They're really pushing their thumb down. And I think it's going to get worse in this state because what they're doing is I think they're going to rebel as much as they can against the Trump administration. And we've got a super majority in the House and in the Senate. We've got a Democrat governor who is just completely nuts. And she doesn't seem to like us rural people out here. And it's almost like everything that they want to do is almost detrimental to our lifestyle. And I'm worried. I'm really worried. I mean, people are all happy because Trump is president, but we're in Crazyville. You know what I mean? It's commie city here.
100%. And I've been saying that from the get-go, like, good. Hopefully we can have some common sense laws, and it's not going to all be unicorns and roses. You know, everybody thinks, okay, President Trump is in, now it's going to be great. There's going to be infighting. There's going to be, the meeting of personalities, the clashing of personalities within the party. There's going to be stuff that doesn't happen and it's politics. It's going to be ugly no matter how it comes out, but hopefully we can push the nation in a good direction, a proper direction. However, we're kind of not part of that. Like you say, we are an entity unto itself, and we're governed by people that don't have the same beliefs that rural America and middle America really have. It's an elitist mentality, unfortunately, and I wish it wasn't that way. And I don't know when it happened and a lot of these people, it's not that they just have different views on how to make America great. It's that they don't want to make America great. They say America's not great. Look at that. One of those former presidents we had whose preacher would say, while this president to be was sitting in a pew, he was like, it's not God bless America, it's God bring America. America's chickens to come home to roost. Wow, that sounds like vitriolic racist hatred. And those are the people that are anti-America, and a lot of them are in charge, and we see it in our beautiful state of Oregon.
Well, that's what happened. A lot of the hippies from the 60s and 70s, they grew up and joined the establishment, and they've taken those extreme leftist collectivism views, and now they literally want to punish us. That's the worry. You know, if they sit there and you could believe them that, you know, they actually cared about you, you might be able to negotiate on their policy. But when you know they downright hate you and want to destroy you, it's like, how can I negotiate with that? And that's going to be the problem of the Republicans. Hey, can I play that video real quick? Because it was an interesting.
Please do.
Here it is.
Beautiful day out on the bay, folks. We're sitting out here. We're not really catching many fish, but we're having a good time. And we start looking at the condition of this bridge, and we start looking on these pilings, and we start seeing rivets laying all over the place. Like, what do those belong to? Well, you look up, pretty sure it belongs to that. Pretty sure they came out of a bunch of these. And then here's our favorite spot. Hang on, just go over there. Right there. This is a functioning, and I use the term functioning very loosely. This is a bridge that is used. Goes all the way from yonder the way to the other side of the, you can see where it's open, allow passage of vessels, other side of that. Like one day, someone's going to be under here when it gives way. This is like actually, it's not used for passengers. I think it's used for freight and stuff, but oh my gosh. You know, I thought there were guidelines on this kind of stuff, but apparently not. Apparently not. So you can come on down, pick yourself up a rivet. And then one day, when this collapses, you can say, hey, I've got a rivet from that bridge that collapsed with the freight that was going across. Look at that. All right, there you go. Beautiful day in the bay, though.
And it was a beautiful day on the bay. How long ago was that?
About a year. I'd say about a year, maybe a little bit less than a year. And it's just like, even watching it myself, it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like there are so many restrictions and guidelines on, there's areas where you can't have a wood fire. You can't let your vehicle idle for 5 minutes. There's all these nonsensical rules and regulations, but this is allowed to be. How can that not be condemned? At this point, I say, push it all into the water. It'll make great structure for fish for a while. It's all iron and steel and stuff. It'll erode and decay naturally. It'll add nutrients and stuff. But my gosh, like how do you fix that? How do you fix that?
I don't know if you can. That looks like it's beyond repair. That just is mind boggling. And there's probably only one guy in the entire area that can keep that swivel bridge, the swivel bridge that you see there that they have to swing around. There's only one guy who's good enough and smart enough to keep that running. His name is Witt over at Witt Industries. And, he does the hydraulics on that thing. And they better be very thankful they got a guy close enough that can come and fix
No kidding. Yeah, and it's often that it's in disrepair.
Yes, it is.
It was a year or so ago, they had to like hook tugs or something onto it to pull it into a neutral position to allow the passage of vessels because it had broken down. Like at what point it's like a vehicle, right? You can run a vehicle forever, but at what point are you nickel and diming it to death? At what point is it become a death trap on the road as you're driving it? At what point do you just say, it's going to cost way more than I want to spend, but I've got to get a new one? And at what point do we do that with these bridges? Not that this bridge is going to cost less than $1 billion,
right?
Do we need it? Can we circumvent it? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to have the answers, but I do know that does not look good. And if somebody ever dies because they're on a train that goes across that and it collapses, I'm pretty sure I would stand up for that people's family and say, y'all owe gazillions of dollars.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. The port's probably got them signing a waiver just to go over that sucker. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at that. Let's address some of these comments here because I thought they were kind of interesting. This is from Tom and Nancy. Tom Brown. He says, Can you please take pictures of the tunnels? I have been told they are fine, but I have also heard they are in a serious need of repair. Have you seen the tunnels?
No.
I think you can go quite a ways to get up to the tunnels.
Yeah, I think so. I think you get some from the little lakes and stuff. I can't remember the name of the lakes, but I think I saw one once. I was out kayaking or something like that, and I could see it in the distance. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine what those look like.
We should do one of those tiny we should have a party of tiny trains and all of us go out there. We get all the guys and we'll go out there and check this out. And just for a thrill, we'll go over that trestle just to, no. So we'll go the other direction and maybe we could run into a tunnel, because they got those tiny cars that they use all the time.
I think that'd be fun. Not going on the bridge. I would do it if I was by myself. If my family wasn't with me, I'd totally shoot across the bridge because I'm sure some of the footage would be just amazing. And again, those pieces aren't for aesthetics. That's not an aesthetic bridge. All those cross members, all those pieces, those aren't there for looks. They were not there for looks. And I know they've been working on it. I know there's some construction that's been happening on it. But again, realistically, how does somebody sign off on that? At what point does 50% of that bridge be rotten, and you say, or trestle, and you say like, it's good enough. Let's sign on this. There you go.
That one cross scheme was almost 60% gone, man.
Yeah. Aren't the railroad infrastructure privately owned? This is Ashley. This one in particular is definitely privately owned. Like I say, I think it's the Port of Coos Bay that owns it. They hold a lot of land, a lot of infrastructure. That's always concerning to me. As a government, they say they're not a government agency sometimes, but they are. They're absolutely a government entity.
Are. They're a tax.
They own. Yeah, they own a lot. That's concerning to me. That's always been disconcerting.
In fact, I've been considering, after all this problems that we've been having with the port and some of the projects over the last 30 years, that they have failed, literally have failed on everything that they've ever done. I haven't seen the Port of Coos Bay ever be successful other than at failing. So there was a book written about it by Wim DeVreen, talking about the job messiahs and how they're always promising to bring jobs in one project after another, but in reality, it's another way to bring money into the ports using grant dollars, and so that happens quite a bit. Yeah. And so what we need to do is that we need to keep an eye on that port. But I was thinking of passing or getting an initiative to bring it back to the voters of Coos County, because the governor appoints those port commissioners, and we've got a couple of extreme leftists, of course they are, on the port here in a Republican county. And I think that needs to change. And the only way we can change it is taking that district back to being a voting district instead of being appointed by the governor.
I remember I sat on a little board, a little volunteer board for them at one point when I first moved here. And they were talking about this was funny. They used to put the microphone in front of me when we'd have these little meetings, and then after this, they didn't put the microphone in front of me anymore.
Yeah.
And there's like, what can we do? And I said, like, what about piers? Like, piers are a thing all over North America. We don't have piers here. Well, we have docks. Well, yeah, docks only go so far, but piers are cool. They're things the whole family can go on and you can fish on. They bring money. They bring people to the area. It's a great little. And then they're talking about putting this beautiful walkway, like a raised walkway all the way around the marina. And I thought, yes, this is the type of forward thinking I'm looking at. And there's like, we could do this. It's going to cost however many millions of dollars. Like, let's say $10 million. I'm pulling a number out of the air, whatever it was. I said, oh yeah, $10 million, it'd be great. And I was like, okay, cool. What kind of funds do we have? And I said, well, we can get matching funds for like every dollar that we put into it for this specific fund. And I was like, hey, well, what do we have? Cool. And it was like something like, I don't know, $300,000 or something like that. I said, what? Yeah. Like, yeah. So we can get like $600,000 on like a $10 million project. I said, you know what else we can do too? I said, we can hope that unicorns will fly over and shit Skittles into our mouths, but that's never going to happen. So why are we wasting our time talking about this? And they never gave me the microphone again after. Pardon my language, but that's exactly what I said. I was annoyed. Like, why am I in here wasting my time with superfluous thoughts and fantasies of things that can never happen? And that is something so bizarre about this place. Everyone has this, we can have these great ideas and it's gonna be awesome, and then we could no, let's have some realistic based things. Let's admit that a $10 million bicycle path, so guys in spandex drinking their yak juice riding around can go. Why don't we spend that on something for blue collar workers? This is a blue collar area, and that is the number one thing that this area, the people in charge, try to take it away from the hands of those people. All the people that come here in the summer, 90% of them, they're hauling boats, they're hauling trailers, they're bringing sand rails to the dunes. This is Jimmy Lunchbucket, blue collar worker, God bless America people that are coming here, and they're trying to design this place for some kind of elitist spandex wearing species.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
It's all frou-frou. I don't want frou-frou. Most of the people don't want that. And you're absolutely right. Every project they have seems to cater to the visitors from up north. But I think that's exactly how the people up north look at us. We're just a playground, and all of us people here are evasive species and needs to be eradicated. Ashley says those super giant billionaires who own the railroads must be pushed into maintaining their own infrastructure. And if that is the case, I imagine the private the private, because if it's owned by the port, the trestle that we're talking about, that is actually a taxing district and would be considered a government entity. But
Valid.
the billionaires
Yep.
should probably are forced to pay for it. I'm willing to bet that they have to keep theirs maintained where the port can go, oh, it's just a little bit of rust.
I would think so. I mean, there's a fine line between, it's a privately owned entity like a railroad or rail district or something, and the necessity of it and the importance of it to the nation, the strategic necessity of it. And railways are strategic necessities. Maybe we don't use them as much as we used to. Maybe we do. I don't know what the numbers on those are, but there are times, and there may be times coming again, where that is a strategic necessity to have that mode of transportation to move goods, men, and material. And it has throughout history. But you make a great point. Yeah. I keep saying, oh, the port, it's private. But it's a government entity. They like to say they're not. I've had people that work for them. Oh, no, we're private. Where the hell do you get that from? How do you even imagine that? How are you private? Who doesn't work?
If you're private, then I want my tax dollars back, Jack. Okay.
Right.
It's you can't have it both ways, but no, they're not. I've been to their meetings, and they would never had put a microphone in front of me. That would never have happened. But I used to go to the meetings, but at one time they were like at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. It was a ridiculous time. And so it was hard to get over there to North Bend where they were meeting. And so I didn't go to too many of them, but I'm starting to think I should go over there because this project coming in, there are a lot of things that they're going to try to manipulate as far as the taxing structure. And I don't know if you remember the community enhancement plan that they were going to do with the LNG. And it was a bunch of unappointed people who were going to sit on a board and decide where $60 million worth of taxes a year were going to go. And it's like, well, wait a minute, we need to talk about this. I think they should have gone to the taxing districts, but that's
so. Now this intermodal depot thing, is it still a go? Because I thought it was kind of off the books for now.
So here's what I have taken from it. I couldn't really answer that question with any certainty, but here's how I take the read on that. Right now, they're trying to pull in the grant money to do studies on doing the project. They got a guy who's willing to invest $500 million into this project. But of course, he's going to have to be subsidized by the government. Who knows how much. They're going to have to bring in the county's urban renewal agency that sits out there in the North Spit to help them out. And so that's going to drive up our taxes because it's going to create a much higher debt. And the other taxing districts have to pay for that debt. When they pay for that debt, they will come to the taxpayers and ask us for more money, like the schools, the college, the fire districts, the cities, and so forth. And so we got to keep an eye on this because they can take a boondoggle like this and really blow up our tax structure here. And it's something we got to watch out for. But from what I heard from behind scenes from the people I've talked to is that the federal government is going to have to give them about $1 billion to do this project. And I'm having a hard time seeing Donald Trump saying, hey, Oregon, here's $1 billion to F with. You know what I mean?
And you talk about somebody coming in, putting a bunch of money up, but of course the government, the taxpayers are going to have to front that or underwrite it or however you want to phrase it. And I'm not completely opposed to such things because I've seen these types of infrastructure works before that have worked and paid off, and they've made it a booming economy in areas. We are not necessarily that area. We are so small, hick town. And we try again. We try to bring the quinoa, the kale, and the cyclists in, but we don't stick to the roots of what this place is. It's a working man's area. We don't have the money. We don't have the tax base. We don't have the population. We don't have the jobs. We don't have the stuff for these pie in the sky things. I love to see this place grow. I'd love to see so much more. And then you get people that don't want stuff coming in, and then you get the unrealistic expectations, and it's I don't know. This place is like a suspension of reality in so many levels, and it frustrates the heck out of me.
And a lot of the problem is that you've got two cities that are run by leftists themselves. You got North Bend that's run by leftists. You got Coos Bay that's run by leftists, and in a Republican county. And so they're playing to their party who runs the state. So all the rest of us here are basically reacting to everything they do. We have no input.
Yeah.
There is no us here for our county. It's almost like we have no representation because the people we have, even though they're voted in, I believe they're voted in by people who, think that they are able to bring in these huge projects, and
Yeah.
it's a pipe dream. And I don't know. I like the idea that you were talking about. Let's try to focus on projects that would actually bring fishermen and families in. And we depend so much on tourism already. Then why don't we focus on that a little bit more? Because I would like to have the timber industry back, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. I would like to have mining and drilling back, but not in Oregon. It's just not going to happen. And
you're right. Those are such horrible things. Exploitation of natural resources, says the guy driving a vehicle made out of plastic and steel and run by fossil fuels. That everybody gets so butthurt about this stuff. Yeah. I'm all for taking over Canada. Let's just go. Let's jump to that for a second. I know it's tongue in cheek, but we could have it done in a weekend. The resources we could take. And we're resource rich in Oregon too. Again, we have to take care of it. I don't want to see everything torn apart and ripped apart, but man, we have so many natural resources here that are just, I don't deal directly with ODFW anymore, but just as a sportsman now, I have to deal with them all the time. And it's this leftist ideology, this nonsensical path that they take, this do good environmentalism that really has nothing to do with people, has nothing to do with families, has nothing to do with the culture of what this place is supposed to be. And that's the problem. This place is a culture of mining and logging. And can you imagine the first people the first settlers that discovered this area? If they came today, they'd go running back screaming.
I know. I know. They'd turn the wagons around. I don't know what the hell happened. Get out of here.
Wagons east.
Yeah, at that point, it's like, let's go live with the Indians. I mean, we might as well, because, geez, And Oregon was at one time, it was in the middle kind of state. And since we got in mail-in ballots 30 years ago, we were one of the first states to do it. I think we were a trial state. We've gone far left, and we don't seem to be coming back. And the Republicans, instead of being more conservative, they try to be more Democrat. And you're like, well, you already got Democrats. What do I need you, man?
I understand the logic. I understand the thinking behind that and the ideology behind it, but I don't think it works. I don't think it's valid. You water it down. We are still overall, and I think this last presidential election kind of showed it. We are still a conservative value, depending on whatever conservative looks like to people. It definitely looks different up here. Living up here, conservatism here is different than conservatism in a lot of the rest of the country. But it does show, the results do show that we are a conservative, quote unquote, nation overall. We have conservative values, we have conservative wants and needs, and by ignoring that, and by pandering to the middle and catering to the middle, which I understand why they do it, but it's not going to work. I couldn't do it. I couldn't sell my soul. I couldn't do it.
I know. And that's, in many cases, that's what a lot of the Republicans think you have to do. And then they get into office after promising to be conservative, to maintain the same values and standards that they ran on. And then they get into office, and it's one apology after another vote after another vote. And it's like, I'm sick of electing Republicans who get in there and have no backbone. It's like, I understand. And this is my favorite, is once they get into office, they always go, well, you just don't understand. You don't understand. Now that I'm here, I've got to do things this way. And it's like, you're so full of shit. Excuse my language.
And again, going back to President Trump, like, what made me get his attention, or what made him get my attention right off the get-go? It was trashing Rosie O'Donnell. Like, this guy is saying exactly what I think. Is that something you should ever say in mixed company or on a political platform? Hell no. But he did. And I went, I've always despised that pig. We're talking about Tara Johnson or no, Rosie.
Rosie.
So I get the two so confused sometimes.
Yes.
And but he stood, and he historically, I mean, he's not a hard right winger at all historically, not even by definition or comparison, but he just came out and he stood on where he stood, and he said what he said, and he just kept going with that and going with that and going with that, and it started to resonate with people. Like, yeah, I think the same thing too. I want to. If he had watered down, if he didn't come out and go, we're not going to do it, Hillary, when he said to Hillary. When Hillary said to him, can you imagine someone like him being president? And during the first round of debates 4 years ago, and he said, you're really lucky, Hillary, because if I was, you'd be in jail. Like, oh my gosh, he didn't back down. He just kept going. If he had kissed ass to the left at that point, he wouldn't have made it anywhere, and he would be a footnote in history. And I think maybe that's a lesson to be learned by conservatives, quote unquote, here in the state of Oregon, that maybe just say to heck with it. And you know what? And if you don't get reelected, you don't get reelected. And if you don't get elected in the first place, you don't get elected. But you'll be setting the groundwork for other strong conservatives to come behind you and build on what you've laid. That little bit of foundation that you've laid might make that difference.
And I agree with you. The Republicans aren't the Republicans in other states. I mean, from Texas or New Mexico or Arizona. It's like when I first moved up here, I remember going the first Republican meeting I went to here, and it was about 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. And they were the two people who were in charge, the vice chair and the chair, worked for the post office, and they were passing an initiative to support funding the post office. It was when they were looking for a huge amount of money, and I'm sitting there watching these people vote on this, and no one stood up and said anything against it. And of course, I eventually had to stand up, and I'm like Trump, you know what I mean? I'm like you. We speak our mind and stuff. And for these type of Republicans, it's like they look at you like, he dare to say that? Oh my God. And you could hear people on the side applauding you and clapping you and say, yeah, it was like the first time somebody actually stood up at a meeting and said, this is nuts. The emperor has no clothes, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go. I don't know if we can go. Is this a giant reset for America, to use Hillary's term, reset? I don't know. We've got to do something. Something has to change. And if nothing else, I mean, you don't have to like President Trump. You don't have to love the guy. I love the guy. I do. I just, who he is. And I look at his kids, look at his family, and let's just compare them to Camelo's stepdaughter, that freak, that deviant weirdo, strung out junkie, in my estimation, or Joe Biden. Yeah, look at that. The dude's been shot at numerous times. There's been an assassination attempt on him. I was Googling like a month after that happened, assassination attempt, and 15 other things showed up before him. Like there was so much suppression of him. There was so much suppression with your mainstream media, with your tech company like your Google and all your search engines and stuff. And yet he still won. Yep. Look at that picture. I don't care if you like the guy or not. That is a presidential candidate who was just shot at. He was shot, actually. He wasn't shot at. He was shot.
Yeah. And that's the most iconic photo. As soon as I saw that the day, because I was watching that when it was alive, and it was, wow, what mind blowing. It was like what I don't know if you remember when the space shuttle blew up. I watched that. Yeah. And I remember watching Ronald Reagan watching it, and it was like, oh, that probably wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And it was just such a horrible tragedy. And, we are now facing what I believe is going to be, we just had 2 terrorist attacks on New Year's Day. I believe that that's going to be the next modus operandi of extreme Muslims and BLM and Antifa going forward. I don't think you're going to see them in the streets as much. I think you're going to see these types of terrorist attacks, domestic terrorism, possibly foreign terrorism, coming in here and doing this during this presidency because they want them.
Fair. Yeah. No, the world, when the left, when the world is opposed to you, you're probably doing the right thing. You're known by the enemies that you keep. And I don't know if that's an actual adage or not, but I've used that in my personal life for a lot of years. I would look at different people I was involved with and stuff. And I thought, man, their enemies are wide and varied, but their enemies are not people that I'd ever want to ally with. Ergo, this person is somebody that I can ally with. The old enemies of my enemies are my friend. I guess doesn't really apply in what I'm trying to say. But when this happened, when President Trump was shot, we were out in international waters. We had no cell service or anything.
Oh, wow.
We got some radio chatter. We were out somewhere Mexico, California border, out like 100, 150 miles out at sea. We were 200 miles, I think. And so there was no cell service, nothing like that. But we got some radio chatter coming in that said President Trump, or former President Trump, had been shot. So I always carry a satellite communicator with me so I can talk to the world no matter where I am. So we pulled that out of its little box. I hooked up my electronics. We got on the deck and we started communicating with people to find out what was going on. So we were getting real-time text messages from people back home that are sitting watching it and giving us the updates. And it was unreal. It was pretty neat. We're on a vessel. There was about 30, 35 people, and I would give everybody updates when an update would come in. And there were some people that were obviously very, very far to one end of the political spectrum or the other. It was mostly respectful, except for one guy, one young man. He should have been in the military. He was a military age guy, and he was robust. He was a fisherman, but he went to UCLA, and his lefty, filthy, dripping, vitriolic hatred of America started to show. And I thought, wow, this guy is like a nut job. I don't like Biden. I haven't cared for him for decades. I've never once wished his death. I wish he would go the hell away a lot sooner, but I've never once wished his death. The left wishes death on President Trump continuously and unceasingly. And when you do that and you talk about it, someone's going to shoot at him. So I'll be the guy. I'll do it. Like you create that type of frenzy. You foment hatred.
And we know this because you and I have been personally attacked by local vocal leftists in ways where they literally wanted to destroy our ability to make any income, to be able to show our face. They thought they were going to disgrace us. To this day, I still get weird, sick messages from Sal Carruthers. It's just the weirdest, sickest thing. I've never contacted this guy.
He has used AI to make a naked poster of you, and it's in his room with his boyfriend.
I think so. It's a daddy thing. I don't know what the hell's the matter with him, but the young man needs a smack across the head.
Or more. I would sit down and talk with them. I've even offered before, hey, instead of all the vitriol, let's talk. You step out of line, you be careful. Same thing with me. I wouldn't step out of line. Right. But these people can't do it. They're so filled with hatred. I can despise what people stand for and what they believe in, and not like them at all, but not wish them death. That's a whole different.
Or be able to talk to them. That's what kills me is they wouldn't come on the radio. I offered it to all of them. No, we don't talk to fascists. And it's like, well, how are we supposed to communicate? And with Sal Carruthers especially, I had offered to meet with him, just me and him at a restaurant, at a public place, just so we could talk and I could try to figure out what the hell's the matter with him. But at this point, he's ape shit crazy, and I don't even want to try to figure out what that is. And
that's too bad. We all live in the same community. There's got to be some kind of commonality somewhere. I don't know. Some of our biggest fans and followers are people that are more on the left than on the right. In fact, most of the problems I have with people online are the so-called, I call them Yankee conservatives. They're people that are really conservative, and then they attack me for something. It's like, hey, idiot, we're supposed to be on the same side of things here, and I can't reconcile that in my head. And some of the people that I get along with the best are people that are on the left, and they could see that. I'm able to disconnect that and have a great conversation and have a great time and go fishing and do all those things. I'm not driven by the identity of politics. I'm who I am. My politics are reflective of me. My passions are reflective of me. I'm not reflective of politics. I'm not reflective of my passions. And so many of these people, particularly the left, they don't have that personality. So they make that their personality, and it becomes everything that they are, violence and all.
Yeah. It's almost like a career or a religion. Religion is a good term. It's a weird, sick religion that they practice. You've got Chris Castleman here.
I just saw that, Chris.
we need Doug Washington to run for North Bend mayor in 2 years. Let's start laying that foundation we're just talking about.
You know, here's where I'm going to say it publicly, and I've said it privately, and I've probably said it publicly before, and this is going to sound really horrible. This is going to sound so horrible. I don't care enough about a vast majority of the people here to represent them. I don't. I can't go into the office and go, I care about you people. I care about this area, but I don't care about the people that aren't willing to stand up and do what needs to be doing. You know, we talk all the time about the crime. We talk about the pestilence, the disease. There's a guy walking around, I guess, by McDonald's, like in the past hour with his pants down, his wiener hanging out, no shirt on. Now, why in the hell has it been allowed to get to that point? It's not supposed to get to that point. And I will say right here unequivocally that there are more places in this nation than not that if a grown-ass man got out and took care of that guy, maybe helped him after he fell down on his face a few times, that there would be no legal repercussions. Well, here everybody's so afraid of the law because they've let that happen. Nobody has stood up here. I have buddies who, like, were fighting to keep dirtbags off of their property and out of their neighborhoods. And their family and friends were all like, no, dude, you can't get involved. Just call the police. You can't get involved. What's the worst thing you can do when something's happening at the time? Call the freaking police. Sometimes you have to act and then you call the police.
That's right.
Credit North Bend PD. Every time I've had to call them, they show up on time. That's always been when people are off the property. If they're on the property, the wife will be calling the police as I'm dealing with it. But what the hell is with the men here that aren't willing to stand up? I've never seen such a bunch of weak-kneed jellyfish in my life. Nobody.
We're talking big, badass dudes. This is what kills me, Rob, is we're talking some big, badass dudes, bigger than I am. And they're all, well, you know, I just don't want to get in trouble. And it's like, well, if you only knew what I was doing at night, you know what I mean? It was like, geez. Yep. And so, we had a lady just called me and contacted me and Chris, and she was having trouble here in Bandon, where, by the way, we're one of the safest towns in Oregon. Yep. I don't know whether Coos Bay is one of the most dangerous towns in Oregon, according to the percentages. But yet we here in Bandon, a bunch of latte sipping leftist pride practicing people out here, you know,
hard left people don't put bum shelters in their neighborhoods. They never have. They talk the talk, but they do the right thing, and they don't allow that crap in their backyards like we do here.
And that's the only thing I can agree with. A couple of my neighbors who are leftists is most of them are, you know, if they're not political, they're pretty cool. They're pretty, you know, right of center. But there's a couple of lefties on my street, and boy, as you get the bums hanging out at the end of the street, it's amazing how fast they're on the phone to Bandon PD, moving them along. Let's just move them along. And they're really good here about that. Corey Dillon has a way of encouraging them to, you know, he's not mean to them. He's not abusive, but he has a way of encouraging them to get along. And, you know, but we don't have too many bumps. You know, you get 3 or 4 of them together, you're like, well, what's going on here, pal? And
other than major urban centers, when you go north and south, which will have their enclaves of bums, I contend, I've said this for years, people that actually travel and get around will agree with this. The people that never leave this county will disagree with this stuff all day long. But the further north you go, the better it gets. The further south you go, the better it gets. Yeah, there's a murder in Seattle every freaking night. Those are places you don't go. Those stay away from the urban, blue-collar, white-collar areas where it's working people. You don't have that same amount of crime. Here, we're like the ultimate melting pot here. You know, we bring all the garbage here and just stir it into the entire county and let it mix up. And look what we have, a delicious paste of nasty.
Well, you know, back in the day, the sheriff of both Coos and Curry County, it was rumored, you know, you get the people that we are dealing with now, they would just put them in the back of the squad car and take them down to the California border and point south and say, you just keep going. But we don't do that anymore. And of course, the police won't do that because of the fact that they're afraid of the legal consequences. Let's go through some of these. Okay, we have the Chris Castleman asking you to run for North Bend. And by the way, I feel the same way. The reason I won't run for office is because I can't represent a good portion of the people of this county. Yep. And it's because they're just wacky, crazy. But Katie Iman, I told her that, well, why don't you run for office if you want to get so involved? And I go, well, why would I when I'm doing just exactly what I want? And if I run for office, I would have to listen to you and represent you. You would be my boss. I'm not interested in that. That's
it. And good on you for knowing that. Exactly. Yeah. They would be your boss. And a lot of times you can affect more change doing what you do, doing what I do. We're doing what a bunch of us do. And Chris, thank you for the comment and the thought on that, Chris. I should mention that. Respect you and like you a heck of a lot. And I appreciate that. I really do.
We're going to run him for county commissioner against John Sweet. And hopefully it's John Sweet in the next commissioner's race. I'm hoping he runs against him. I think that was his plan that we were talking about. And he's now the vice chair of the Republican Party. He's trying to get them organized and actually functioning as a party so that we can do what the Democrats are doing. Isn't it weird how almost 60% of the county votes for Trump, but yet it's the Democrats who are much more active in this county? They're the ones who can get to the meetings. They're the ones who are organized for these protests. And me, the only thing that was really popular this election cycle was the Trump train. You know what I mean? And it's
conservative by nature. I don't want to say we're reclusive, but we like our freedoms. And part of those freedoms is we do our own things. We have our own time. I want to be with my family. I want to go do what I want to do. I don't want to go and do a bunch of other stuff. And I don't need that validity. And I think a lot of people on the left need that validity. I mean, look at these freaks with these award ceremonies, these dudes wearing dresses and dressing like women. Yeah. They need that validity. Their deviance needs validation. I don't need validation. Hey, if I get it, it's great. We all love validation, but I don't need it. And I think as conservatives, we're more apt to just do our own thing. And I think that's part of the problem.
And that's something I always tell people quite a bit. And this is what I was thrilled about with Chris Castleman is you get young people who want to get into politics and they want to become activists, and you start talking to them, and really what they want to do is find a way to make money off of being an activist. And I keep telling them in the 30 plus years that I've been an activist, I've never made money as an activist. In fact, it has cost me time that I could be working. It has cost me money that I have actually put into campaigns. Tens of thousands of dollars I would be willing to bet over the last several years, my own money, going into this stuff. And I don't make a dime off of this, and I don't need accolades or praise for doing what I'm doing because I'm a selfish bastard, Rob, and I'm doing it for myself. I mean, Doug, I'm sorry.
Who's Rob?
Who's Rob? I'm sorry. I was on acid for a minute, and
it's funny that the people on the left will still. Do you ever find it interesting how Rob changed his name to Doug? Yeah, like, do you guys not know the story of how that happened? We won't have to go through it again today, but it's like, there's nothing nefarious there. I don't hide who I am. That's just the moniker so that we don't get confused. Because it's okay. Well, we'll tell it real quick. There's Rob Taylor, the Rob Taylor Report. There's Rob Taylor of Fisherman Seafood Market. There's Rod Taylor of County Commission, and there's Rob Gonzarek of Base and Tackle, which doesn't even sound remotely the same. But because you and I both have a radio show on the same station and our first names begin with Rob, the left can't delineate that and figure out like, oh, okay, it's two different people. And then we all get muddled in together. So I had to make up a moniker on the fly, and it was Doug Washington. It was just a manly all-American name. Or a basketball player.
Doug Washington,
Doug Washington.
I got a cousin, Doug, and he was like the most straightest arrow. To this day, he's a straight arrow. He was, and so when you use that name, Doug Washington, I always think of my cousin Doug because he was like an Eagle Scout. You know what I mean? He graduated his class at the top of he's got this really cool job that my mom always reminds me, your cousin does this great. It's such a hardcore American name. I thought it was cool. It just and some people just don't get it. It's like, do you not know sarcasm when you hear it?
Yeah. And I love it because people will drive by and they'll see me somewhere and they'll be like, hey, Doug. Or we go to Roseburg. We have a huge following base in Roseburg and Medford. Yeah. And any of these places we're around, somebody will holler out Doug. And I don't hesitate for a moment. For the first while, it was like, who's he? Who's the guy yelling? Oh, crap, he's yelling at me. But now when I hear Doug hollered out, I know it's for me, and it's a riot. People have had fun with it. And fun, that's what it's supposed to be. Politics, while it's dirty, it should still be fun. I think Trump made it fun. Sorry to go back to him again. We have to bring fun back in everything. Fishing is supposed to be fun, and it gets hyper competitive. Everything has just become such an adversarial thing. Let's bring the fun back in stuff, man.
And that's, that was kind of the thing, I went back to, talking about the Trump trains. We had such a great time. I mean, it was such a blast. I took it was like 20, 25 cars. We took all the way down to Brookings and brought the people in Brookings, we had it was like 70 cars, and we brought them back to Port Orford, and we separated there and came back, but 70 cars, all with Trump signs and Trump statues. And I mean, it was just a blast. You're right. I mean, that's kind of what politics needs now, is a little bit, I hate to say it. Yeah. A little bit of excitement, a little bit of reason to be excited about what's going on. Jeff P says, what a glorious team that would be. Rob and Chris for mayors. You could run for North Bend. Chris could run for Coos Bay, but once again, I don't know why. I think
it means you for Bandon. I've already submitted my refusal.
Yeah, and I won't. Like I said, I'd rather go there and yell at them than actually be yelled at. So yeah, Marty Kurt says, or run for clerk, bring voter rolls back to the local level, and most of our problems disappear. Yeah, that would be a good idea. We do need a new clerk. In fact, we're going to have to figure out that. This is the nice thing about Chris being with the Republican Party, is he hopefully will be able to recruit candidates. And one of those candidates, I'm hoping this lady right here runs. Her name is Brandy Martindale. She says the working class won't stand up for us because our system will destroy the livelihood of a person with a job so they can collect the money, and will play catch and release with the thieves, perverts, and drug addicts they can't get any money out of. And that's absolutely right.
I'm seeing her pop up and stuff more and more all the time. We've had some good conversations online and stuff like that. Definitely a player and someone with a good head on her shoulder. Probably too calm for my liking. It's like too compassionate in some respects. But that's why you need a different group of people to make a party work, to make a nation work. You have to have the people with compassion, and then you have to have people like me who just get chiseled and jaded, and their heart grows blacker and harder with every passing moment.
I know. And see, they'll take that clip of what you just said. See, I told you he was.
Absolutely. And they can, people that know me, it's so funny because they'll attack you, they'll attack me, they'll attack her too, if she starts getting involved. And she seems like such a decent person, and Chris is such a decent, kind person, and he's just been attacked. And they'll twist things around and make up such vitriolic lies, and people will believe it. The weak will believe it just based on what they see and hear without actually knowing the person. Again, some of my associates and friends that I've had we don't agree politically on a whole bunch of anything, but we can still talk politics and agree to disagree and find common ground and do that kind of stuff. And that just doesn't happen anymore. And once they get to know you, once they get like, oh, you're the biggest Nazi leader out there. I mean, our buddy Jody Hoffman, just love going back to that, because he wanted us all 6 feet under, and then he's like, hey, these guys aren't what everybody says they are. No, we love them. We love everybody.
That was my favorite radio show, man. That guy was nuts, man. And then he became our nut guy. You know what I mean? So he's cool now, even though he's still a little nutty. But he's cool now. He's with us.
Jody, if you're listening, you're still crazy, buddy. But he comes up with stuff that's like, oh man, that's brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? We've got to watch him metamorphosize to like just this open-minded patriot, and I think he was a patriot all along. I just think he was seeing it from a different angle, and now he just sees it from all the different angles. It's great. He'll throw stuff on my page that's like, holy crap, that's brilliant. I've even told him a few times, like, I'm going to use that moving forward in my own thoughts and beliefs and share it with others because it's so intelligent.
I used to love conversing with him, but he really went off on me one time when I was mad that the Republicans were going to have a float. They were going to give floats to people in it was a retirement home for people who were mentally challenged, some of them, and some of them who were just disabled and stuff. And they were going to harvest ballots from these people at the root beer float thing. And I was totally thought that this was the wrong way to do it. I have no problem if the Republicans want to harvest ballots, but you don't give ice cream floats in exchange. Hey, I know you have Alzheimer's. How about a nice ice cream float? And for some reason you went on to me about that.
I like ice cream. I'd commit crimes for ice cream.
Ashley Hicks says, look into your city manager. Ours is corrupted here in Roseburg, I bet. And read your city charter. If he isn't enforcing all adopted ordinances That's ground for termination by your city council. No, the city manager here runs our city council. When Roger Craddock was one of the longest serving managers in the state, 24 years, I think it was, he served for the city of Coos Bay, and he literally, at the work session, he would tell them how they should vote in a way without telling them how to vote. You know what I mean? The guy over in North Bend, what's his name?
Milliron.
Milliron. Yeah. David Milliron. You know, he's another one of those who basically leads the city council by its nose, and they would be lost without him. And I agree with Ashley that some of these guys, they make a lot of money, and I think they're doing some really shady stuff behind the scenes that we don't see. We had a city manager here who was just absolutely, I mean, he created a fake emergency and convinced the council to vote on it. That's the reason I sued him. And I won in court because it was a fake emergency. Imagine that. And so, yeah, it's pretty sad, some of these managers. Here's James Smith. He says, yes, indeed. You guys need a platform bigger than the one you have. Yeah, I agree with that. I had no idea, but I have been educated today. Wow. I am so glad we have educated someone. That's probably the best compliment you can get. You know what I mean?
Don't take that to a prospective employer, though. Don't. I got my education at the University of Robin Doug.
Robin Doug School of Politicking.
RDU.
RDU. That sounds great. There is a skit in there somewhere.
There's some money laundering and some kind of scam to be made there. That's RDU. And I won't hire a pedophile like the local college does.
No kidding, like the local college. We're going to have to do a show on that. I said, I don't want to cover it now, but we're going to have to do a show on that because I got to do a little bit more investigating. I know Chris is as well. And so, yeah, we'll get back to that. But Samuel Adams, he said, I had to argue with the clerk because they gave me the wrong ballot and refused to do any research to realize I was right. Finally, the clerk did. And I remember the story. He received a ballot that actually allowed him to vote for categories that were for people who are residents of the city of Coos Bay, and he lived outside the city of Coos Bay, and yet his ballot would have allowed him to vote on those categories, which he legally was able to do. My. And here's the thing: how many others got that Coos Bay ballot and didn't realize that they live out of the city and didn't really legally couldn't vote for it? If it happened to one person, I'm willing to bet it happened to a few.
100%. The law of averages. Wow. No kidding.
Yeah. And this is, Samuel Adams. So it was what are the odds of him? You know what I mean? It was like, boy, the clerk was stupid to send that ballot to him.
Like one of the very few people that I'm glad it went to was definitely him.
Yeah. Jeff P says, absolutely, Brandy. And I agree. I've seen Brandy's stuff over the last couple of months. And this lady has an incredible head on her shoulder. I think she would be really good. Ashley Hicks is another one who would have been a good senator if she would have won the primary. But she says, Brandy, the local government get the money from criminal activity connected to homelessness and for sex offenders from the relationship with the nonprofit organizations. UCAN neighborhoods adapt, and UCAN neighborhoods and adapt. Those are some non-government organizations that do feed into this homeless industrial complex that probably does benefit the cities.
Oh, why would anybody want to be a rancher nowadays? Why would you want cattle that you have to look after and inoculate? Just raise bums. Just get in the bum industry. They're free roaming all the way around. And if you set yourself up right, you jockey yourself in the correct position, you just be making money off of them. Yeah, we should but I'll be part of RDU. We'll teach about the bum husbandry.
Husbandry. I like this. Yes. I think that at a certain point, we're just going to we should figure out an island off of the coast of America and send all our homeless there who refuse to reform. We'll give them a chance. If you want to reform, come back into society, get off the fentanyl, stop crapping yourself. We will allow this. But all the rest of you, as long as you want to be derelicts of society, we got this nice island, the island of broken toys, and we're going to send you there, and you can do whatever it is you want to do there. And
they did it years and years ago. It was called Australia.
Yes.
But some of the stuff they were sent to for Australia was like drinking the wrong beverage in the wrong place at the wrong time or something. It was like, ooh, they're kind of a little bit more hard line than probably even we'd be. The whole send them to an island. Absolutely. Send them to prison. Send them to, everybody's like, oh, we have to have mental institutions. Absolutely we do. At the same time, criminality and the insanity, I don't know where they cross over, but sometimes, life isn't fair. You just got to grab them and throw them all into the same pot and make a stew. And the stew isn't always the most pleasant thing, but we have to get people off the namby-pamby, feel-good, bleeding heart train. And if we don't, it's never going to change. It's never going to change.
And it's not like these people don't have a record. We're talking about people who probably have hundreds of violations over the last 10 years. If you get over a certain amount of violations, you should be labeled as a career criminal. And you should be sent away to one of these institutions that we talk about.
And I'm for helping anybody. I'm for helping anybody that wants help. And I've told the story 1,000 times. I'll just do the cliff notes. When I had the shop in Charleston, I had bums that I wanted to help. And like, oh, down on their luck, whatever. Like, hey, yeah, I'll give you a job. We can. No, not reliable. They'd rather be addicted to their stuff. And whether, addiction's a disease, I don't believe it is. It's a choice. At least it starts off that way. You've made that choice. I still say that I am for helping people. I am 100% for helping people, but not ad nauseum, not forever, not with no returns at all. And this, it's diminishing returns at this point. The amount of money that we're putting into the bum complex is just a giant black hole. Somebody's getting rich off of it. Somebody in the industry is getting Narcan. Oh my gosh, I wish I owned 1/2 of 1/100th of 1% of the people that make that nonsense. Good product. Shouldn't be, oh, everybody should have Narcan on them. You just never know. You're never going to know when you're going to come into contact with fentanyl. Bullshit. I know. I'm not going to come into contact with fentanyl? Never. Because if there's a Skyby bum laying on the street, I'm not going to try to resuscitate them. These guys, do you see that bum in downtown Coos Bay last week that was breaking windows and a guy from business went out and wrestled him down? I'm not doing that. I'm past the point, stage, and age of my life where I'm going to put hands on you. I'm going to stop you. You can freaking rest assured I'm going to stop you. I'm not saying I'm going to kill a guy. If you're in my house, different rules altogether. But if you're smashing something of mine outside, I'm going to stop you, but I'm not physically going to touch you. I will use objects. I will use tools. I will use whatever. I'm not going to come in contact with fentanyl. Oh, you never know. My favorite is, okay, you pick up like a $20 bill that has fentanyl on it. Okay. Dopey, fentanyl addicted scum don't lose $20 on the ground. And if there's fentanyl on it, they'll eat it or they'll smoke it before they'll lose it on the ground. This is nonsense. Oh, police officers. Oh, it happens. 1 out of every 100 million encounters. You know where it happens? It happens in hospitals. It happens when people are being administered drugs and it's like, okay, adverse reaction. Let's do this. And then people are like, oh, they hand it. If you get any kind of pain medication now, they give you Narcan. Bullshit. No, they don't. That's absolutely a lie. Maybe someone's been issued that with an opiate or something, but it's not. They're trying to normalize this stuff to resuscitate these people. At what point do you just say, this is on you, buddy. This is on you. I have such a hard time with that. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. Just a bleeding heart nonsense of you got to help everybody all the time. You can't. Some people are beyond help, and it's sad and it's horrible. But you know what? We all got to go sometime.
When do you think? What do you think is going to happen with the Devereaux Center? Now Tara's out. Now they got it closed down. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it looks like it's up for sale, $600,000, and there's a pot of fentanyl at the end of the rainbow, if you can find it.
You can find it somewhere on there. There's the magic fentanyl palette. Yes.
Yes. Hopefully somebody buys it. Hopefully, I don't know who would buy it. I don't know who would want it. I would like to buy it and just put up a giant billboard of Tara's face and her felon husband.
Here's my thoughts on it. You were talking about the bar that's run down and stuff over there. They are planning to do a bunch of economic development work over there, aka our tax dollars, but they're going to try to make that into a huge investment area because the Cow Creek Indian tribe, I believe it's the Cow Creeks over there, they would like to expand in that area. They'd like to put up a hotel, maybe a resort, I believe, something like that. And I think that there are plans behind the scenes that they would like to see developers come in and turn it into something nicer. But the only way they could do that is getting rid of the Devereaux, and I think it's probably going to pop up in another form somewhere else. And
yeah, I do you think like under the same name, under the same guidance and leadership of their board, or do you think?
I don't. If they're got any brain cells, they wouldn't put it under the same name. No, it would be the. In fact, they should call it the No Terra is Here place.
Yeah,
it's Terra not home. So I don't know, but I think it's going to pop up somewhere else. I don't know where. Benetti, I think, is still. I'm not sure what their plans were to buy the Bologna Boys Ranch. I don't know if you heard about that one. I think it's a crazy idea. Take the bums out in the woods so they can wander along 101. That's So, well, I want to thank you for coming on. Is there anything happening exciting that you're doing these days?
No, you know what? I haven't fished in so long. The weather, and as we're sitting here, I'm in my vehicle in the driveway right now because, like, I don't know, I'm just running around getting stuff done. It's like, you know what? Where's such a nice quiet place I can just go and sit? And it's like, we've done this from the boat, we've done it from the water. Now we're doing it from the vehicle, and the sun is shining. The sky is blue. We have some of the nicest weather in America right now today. We had to go through a little bit of nasty to get through it, but get outside and enjoy this. Anybody listening, just go for a walk, go where the bums aren't. Don't know where that is, but go fishing. We've got nice weather coming up this week. I'm looking forward to getting back on the water. It's been months, and we're going to do our Christmas crab giveaway, albeit very, very late. We did it last year, a few days before Christmas. Go catch a bunch of crab, cook it up, give it away. Well, we haven't been out for months. The weather, and then I had a mechanical issue on the boat, and now I'm hoping to get back out this week and start getting fish and crab back out to people. And I love doing it. I love sharing that stuff. That I'm giving away food, and I'm not giving it to people that smell like feces, urine, and semen and live under a bridge because they just stole a bunch of stuff and they're hiding. I'm giving it to working class people that want to come out and pick it up when I offer it to them. That warms my heart. I love sharing it.
And you don't know how much it means when we get tuna or cod or one time one of the guys at work brought us in bear. He had he went out and got a bear, and he gave us ground bear meat, which makes great chili. I don't know if you knew that or not. It makes great chili.
Very nice.
But it's wonderful. You don't know how much we appreciate when people do that, because it's like, wow, this is so cool. And it's something we know that they had to go out and work for getting. You know what I mean? It's like you appreciate that so much more. It's not something like I went to the store, bought some cod, here you go. No, you actually went out and did your deed, man. Free range
critters, man. They're the best. In fact, that I was talking about, we were out in the ocean when President Trump got shot the first time, I guess, the only time he was actually hit. But we brought some of that bluefin tuna back and gave it away. Like, we did the numbers on it. And like, to us, it was just, we had tuna. Like it wasn't worth anything to us other than the nutritional food value. But if you went and had this plated somewhere, or you bought chunks of this stuff fresh, like, it was like tens of thousands of dollars of tuna. I had no idea at the time. Like, we're giving, like, here's a 5-pound chunk. Here you go. It was so cool. And we've got a friend here that he lived in Japan for 20 years. He's been back in America for a few years now. And I gave him this thing. He held it like it was a human child. He took it and cradled it. I just held it next to me. I thought, the guy's being kind of weird. And then I realized, like, no, this is like the most coveted piece of tuna, the most coveted piece of fish in the world. And we're out there just bringing them in, bopping them on the heads and eating them. What an amazing place we have. What a country we live in, brother. What an amazing place we have.
Yes, we are. And that's why we fight for it. They think we're just assholes. You guys are just assholes. No, we love this place, and we're going to fight for it because we want it to remain a place where our family can raise their families and so on and so on. And you have kids. Are they staying in the area? Have they left? I don't know if they're even older.
No, they're young at this point, but there's nothing here to keep them, and I would discourage them from staying here. I would absolutely discourage them from staying here. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. As sad as that is, this is one of the most beautiful, amazing places on earth. But in terms of humanity, it has almost nothing going for it. Like, it's not normal. Everybody hears, oh, there's bums there. There's homeless everywhere. No, there's not. There's actually not. There's hundreds of thousands of square miles in North America that don't have bums. And not just they don't have them like here, that don't have bums. The problems we have here locally And I live in a nice neighborhood, and I can routinely see 2 to 10 bums a day.
Right.
2 to 10 a day. There's no less than 2 a day. That's not normal behavior. That's not a normal way to live. Seeing people with their pants down around their ankles, running around naked outside a McDonald's, that's not normal. Having to explain to my little girls what those guys are doing when they're smoking meth outside the Devereaux Center sitting on the sidewalk, that's not normal. Watching a human being defecate on the sidewalk is not normal. It can happen once. In good places, it happens once, and then something happens to the guy and he never does it again.
Remember when Ozzy Osbourne pissed on the Alamo? Remember what a huge thing that was? And they put him away for like 3 days, and they fined him for that, which they should have. I mean, what an asshole. I mean, peeing on the Alamo. What a drunk asshole. And it kills me. Now they probably got people, I'm willing to bet Texas, they still probably don't let people piss on the Alamo.
No.
I always tell people, go to the Alamo and ask to see the basement. That's my favorite joke.
The Alamo has its own police force. The Alamo has its own sanctioned commissioned police force that is just to police the Alamo and its assets.
Well, it's grown since the last time I was there. It was much smaller, and now it seems like the pictures I see, it looks like they've got a huge, bigger compound around the original compound, don't they?
They can only go so far, but what's happening is stuff that wasn't necessarily open to the public is now become, even though it was land that was acquired and part of it, and it's not even land that's acquired. It's stuff that has been willed and deeded to the Alamo Foundation by the Sisters of the Alamo, or whatever it's called. But they do, so almost everything there has been given to the state of Texas in perpetuity to be honored and protected. And they're constantly finding new stuff. They're constantly doing archaeological digs and and America's filled with that stuff. America is filled with that kind of stuff. But there's just something about the further south you go, the more patriotism there is. It's because I believe part of it is because living is a lot harder. Living is a lot tougher. When you have to worry about where you're going to get water to stay alive, you really look at the essentials and basics of life. Here, living's easy. You can just wander around the streets and never close your eyes, open your mouth, and walk through the woods here, and food will fall into it. And part of that attitude, while that's a good thing, I think has lent itself to an attitude of enabling. And I don't know how that happened, but it's like nobody here has to struggle. Nobody here has to. There's always somebody willing to give you something for free, which isn't a bad thing, but it's done in a wrong way. It's not true charity. It's enabling. There's just so much enabling here. Life isn't tough enough here. It's too easy. You don't get frozen out in the winter. You don't get cooked out in the summer. Life is just too easy for the transients.
Oh yeah, I mean, in New Mexico, you would go from freezing. This is the high desert, and you would go from freezing ass cold in the middle of the wintertime. I'm talking, well below freezing, and then you would go to above 100 in the summertime, and it's in the middle of the desert. Good luck finding food. A skinny ass jackrabbit is about all you can get sometimes out there, unless you want to learn to eat coyote and cactus. And
neighbors look after neighbors, and they help each other, and you have all that. And here, I don't know. I don't know. I do love this place in so many ways.
Yeah.
But it just frustrates me. I could probably sit and just talk for an hour about how this place annoys me, but I love it at the same time. Hard to explain.
Yeah, women are like that sometimes too. So what can I tell you? I know I'm going to catch heat for that, but
why would you do that, dude?
Why would I do that, man? I really screwed up a good conversation. Yeah,
it'll rat you out.
I love women, but boy, they're frustrating sometimes. Yeah, well, welcome to the world, son.
Speaking of women, did you see Kamala had to certify the election?
Yeah,
like can you like that? That's gotta hurt. Like you just see the look on her. Hey, you know what? I think she did a good job. She got a little bit preachy there, but I mean, whatever. She's got to throw her digs in because this is her last kick at the cat.
Yep.
I think she did pretty good. And it's like the first time she talked without using that idiotic hyena laugh and saying weird crap. It was like, if she had been that person all the way through, she would have stood a far better chance of getting elected.
Who the hell are you? Well, it's like Fetterman. Fetterman, ever since he had that stroke, it's like he sounds normal.
What the hell, man? He's the one that's confused. Okay, so hear me out. He starts becoming normal, and then the drones come. Okay, he's an alien. He looked like an alien from the beginning. Either not Lurch, Uncle Fester from the Addams Family. He's an alien. There's no way he's a normal human being because they rewired his brain. He's normal now. So I think they put him down, right? They beamed him down with Elvis and Hitler and everybody else. Everybody has their turn. So they beamed Fetterman down. And then they realized, oh, the software is not working. The wires are crossed. Who programmed him? Bebop over there programmed. Let's beam him back up. Oh, he has a stroke. We fix him, rewire him, and we'll put him back down to earth. And now he's normal, semi-normal. And people are going to quote me as pretending that's something real. I'm saying,
they'll put that in the newspaper. I made a joke once about the abandoned marsh, and it was just a stupid joke. It was she was talking about natural pesticides to get rid of the mosquitoes, and I made the comments, yes, I'm going to rub myself down with lavender and run through the marsh nude, and it actually made the news story as if I was promoting rubbing lavender on your body to get rid of mosquito. I don't know if it works or not, but it was a freaking joke. And it's like,
no, you use lemon oil, not lavender. Everybody knows that.
Is it lemon oil? I can't remember.
Lavender is when you run around naked outside of McDonald's.
Yeah, well, that guy needed lavender. It could have helped. It could have improved a lot there. A good bear mace, a good bear spray would have taken care of that. And you hit the face and you hit the genitals. You get a double shot. Yeah, you hit the face and the genitals, and then you leave as quickly as possible. But you got to dress like Antifa. That's the thing. That's the trick.
Yes.
So they think it's another bum on bum crime. So
I haven't carried or owned a can of OC spray in I don't know how many years. I just don't. I'm not a fan of less lethal deterrence. I'm either not going to get involved or you're going to push it to a point where I'm going to lethally deter you. That's kind of where I'm at. But we had some mail and stuff stolen over the holidays. And I thought, well, if I run them down the street, I want to put them down some pepper spray. But here's the funny thing. The maximum, so this is controlled by the Department of Agriculture, I think it is, because it's considered a pesticide. This is the bear spray, dog spray, whatever. All these types of deterrents are controlled by the Department of Agriculture, and now they limit them to like 3% OC, the capsaicin extract from the plants.
right.
Now, when I used to have these back in the day, these were like 5% and 6.5%.
Yes.
So I was looking all over the place for like 5%, 6%, and I couldn't find them. And it's like, 2 and 3 is the most. So now I just need somebody to steal my mail again so I can see if it actually works.
Yeah, it's I can tell you it does actually work. I got recently sprayed not too long ago. I was sprayed in the face with mace. It was and it was by a friend, you know what I mean? It was like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, really? He says, I'm so proud of you. And I go, proud of me? He goes, you didn't scream like the bums do.
Because you knew it was coming. Now, anybody out there watching and listening right now, make sure, like, don't use.
Oh, we're losing you, Rod.
You still there?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, be careful how you use this. Don't use it in an enclosed environment. Don't use it in your vehicle. Don't use it in your house. Make sure the wind is going in a prevailing away from you. There's a lot of things to work up to this before this ever comes out, because you can incapacitate yourself, and next thing you know, a bum is taking advantage of you.
Yeah. Matt Wilbanks got friendly fire sprayed in the face. They were fighting with BLM, and you can't spray that when as someone who's standing right next to one of your guys, because they're going to get the overflow on that. And I mean, he just got it right in the face, and it was it makes you cry.
Yeah, it's miserable. It's miserable stuff for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't drive for 30 minutes, so I had water, and I can only imagine being on the street and having to wear those same clothes, after someone maced me. Yep. But we're not talking about homeless people who are actually, had horrible things, happen. These, we're talking about criminals, and I hate the term. They always, the poor homeless, no, we're talking about derelicts of society, man. And they need to go.
I despise that term. I hate the term. I hate the term homeless when it's used abjectly to encompass everybody that is a deviant bum. And I hate the word camping, because camping here means you're a bum who set up a mattress and a tarp somewhere. Like, oh,
Right.
they're camping. They're not camping. I go camping. My family and I go camping.
Right.
That's two different things altogether. Did you see the video? Well, Facebook totally flagged it. I had to put it on Rumble. Do you see the video I did of the SWAC property with the like tons of needles piled up and all the
is that
garbage?
what happened to it? I was looking for that
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's on my Rumble page, which I don't do much with, but I had to put it there because Facebook they don't like the truth. Facebook is, Zuckerberg plays the game of like, oh no, I was told I had to do this by the Biden administration.
Right.
Oh,
right.
I was, whatever. Yeah, you do what you're told. And I was just doing what I was told. Once the good people told me to do it, and I did. I just counted the numbers. I counted them as I went into the ovens. Yeah, I don't buy that attitude. They are still a highly censored platform.
Yes.
All they care about is their own bottom line, which I get. I'm a capitalist. But when you infringe on people's free speech, and yes, it's a private entity, it is a private platform. At the same time, I've been saying for a long time now, these need to have a little bit of regulation on them like utilities do, because they are such infrastructure, right? Just like railroads, I was talking earlier, they're such an important part of the infrastructure of this nation. Social media has now become that, and there's no government oversight on them. Yeah, they go before Congress every now and then and whine and cry and lie, and then nothing ever happens. But there needs to be repercussions.
And that's why I really enjoy Twitter right now. I haven't been over to Twitter except for this past year. I've been on Twitter a lot, but for like 3 years since 2020, I didn't bother because, everything I did was, just censored and taken down. And so I just stopped. And now that good old Elon's gotten hold of it, it's been much better. But I don't know what to tell you, but we're going to have to do this again. I appreciate you coming on, man.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Beautiful day, folks. Get out there, enjoy the best backyard in the world, and love this nation. Love your home. You don't have to get along with everybody. You don't have to agree with everybody. But if we all just loved this nation, even close to equally, I think a lot of our issues would go away. But I don't think people do.
No, I think there's a lot of them who don't, and then they can leave. That's what kills them. Get the hell out.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Canada. Whoopi and Rosie. Like, how many times do you cry wolf? Like, I guess just forever. You just keep doing it forever. I'm going to move to Canada. That's it. I'm done. I'm done. That's my Whoopi voice, by the way, which when I do it is a lot more feminine than her actual voice.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Have a good one. Take care.
All right. Talk to you later. Doug Washington. Take care, man.
Doug.
All right. I always enjoy talking to Doug Washington. He is, he's someone who has a pulse on what's going on around here. And that's why I enjoy people like Chris Castleman. I think Brandy is just absolutely right on. And some Jeff Pete, boy, he's got it. Marty, he's got it going. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of us out there. Who we know what's happening in our community, and we're not going to let it go. We're not going to allow the politicians to lie to us. Even the politicians we tried to get elected, we're not going to allow them to lie to us at all. And so, I'm going to go through a couple of these comments real quick. Kathy Blount says Harrisburg, Oregon has no bums because they don't have handouts or put up with them. I love spending time there at my friend's house. That's why I think Bandon doesn't have a huge homeless population. I think Bandon, because we don't have a Devereaux type center, I think that's part of the reason that one of the reasons. I also think that the police are very good at making sure the homeless here walk the line, and they don't like walking the line. They don't like following rules. That's why they're living like feral animals. Jeff Pete, he says, not an Oregon, Kotex won't let it die. And he's talking about DEI. DEI can DIE, yes. And, we keep making that joke that DEI is dead, but the fact is that they're going to rebrand it and they're going to come back with it. And in Oregon, it's not going to go away because they're pushing it. Look at the city of Coos County. I think it was their latest newsletter. It was like DEI this, DEI that, DEI something else. So no, they're not going to let it go. They're not going to let this go. So Marty says, Zuck is run by others. Facebook is the DARPA LifeLog Project 2.0. And I've always heard that. I've heard that Facebook was actually created by the FBI. Was it the FBI or the CIA? I've heard conspiracy theories going back, and I'd love to find out more about it. I should have an expert on here who's delved into that subject to talk about that. That would be very interesting. Oregon Outlaw 2000 says Facebook and YouTube should pay tax. YouTube doesn't pay taxes? Wow. I'm going to have to check that out. I would just have assumed that Facebook and YouTube paid taxes. That's interesting. James says small business owners are logging and clearing out all the brush around their properties. Also, Coos Bay Water Board, Walmart, you can take a drive around Coos County and see it everywhere. And then I think that might be a good thing. Owners are logging and clearing out all of the brush. That might be a good thing. And that's something when I deal with people who call me up or I call up friends of mine who try to deal with the criminal problem we have. That's the first thing we tell business owners is get rid of the brush, get rid of anything that attracts anyone who would want to camp on your property. That's the first thing you want to do. Marty, he's replying to that thing about CIA military. DARPA is Defense Advanced Research Project Admin. I'm glad you said that. I knew what DARPA was. I just didn't remember all the words that DARPA stood for. So I'm glad you cleared that up for me. Defense Advanced Research Project Admin. That's interesting. Oregon Outlaw says they would need to pay taxes if they were editors. That's interesting. I've got to find out more about that. And then I would like to hear more about the CIA and the military. I've got to find an expert on Facebook to come in and talk about that. Somebody who's written a book or has done a documentary, something like that. But I do have a couple of other stories that I want to get to. And one of them is, let me see if I can get back here. This is someone you might recognize. Today is January 6th. In 2020, this young lady, Ashley Babbitt, as far as I'm concerned, she was murdered in the Capitol building. She was murdered by this man, Michael Byrd, who shot she was unarmed. He shot an unarmed woman who very easily could have been pulled down out of that window, handcuffed, and taken away. There is no excuse for what this man did. And as long as Michael Byrd is out there free, not only is he free, but he's been rewarded for the murder of Ashley Babbitt. And I think there is a civil suit going through. I hope there is. But I wanted to remind everyone that the presidency and the fight to get Trump into office has cost lives. There are people out there who are willing to sacrifice and make those sacrifices. And maybe it wasn't a sacrifice to them, but they are willing to do these things because they believe so full-heartedly that the election was stolen in 2020 and that Trump was the rightful president. I think that she had every right to believe that. I do believe that there were all kinds of shenanigans in our election in 2020. And so it's just absolutely sad that this has happened. But one of the things that I did hear that that recently occurred, and let me see if I can get this up on the screen, is Enrique Tarrio, who's been a guest on my show. He's been on my radio show a couple of times, and Enrique was at one time the leader of the Proud Boys. And he's now serving 22 years for January 6th conviction. He asked Trump for a pardon. He's asking Trump. And he didn't even make it to January 6th because they arrested him as he was leaving the airport. I believe my friend Scott Brewster, he took a picture of Enrique Tarrio at the DC airport with his children. And I was sent that picture, and it was really cool because I got to show that on the radio program and got to interview Enrique. I believe it was the next day before he was arrested. I can't remember the exact timeline, but right before he got arrested, he came on my radio show and he did an excellent interview. And I think that President Trump should pardon him. I think he was railroaded, and no, I don't believe that he was an FBI informant for the January 6th. I think what proves that is that he was arrested and went to 22 years in federal prison. If he was an informant, excuse me, I don't think he would be going to federal prison, but he is one of those who has been sentenced. And here he is a picture of Enrique. And like I said, he was a friend of my show, and it's sad that some of these people, are being persecuted as far as I'm concerned. Not right at all. So that is something that's happening, and I hope that the president on his first day, I hope he pardons all the January 6ers. I hope there's a lot of people. I hope he pardons Roger Stone. I hope he pardons Giuliani. This lawfare that the left has been practicing and going after people has just been absolutely, it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary, and it's only going to continue. One of the things that I just also saw, and I want to share this if I can. Well, let me see if I can get to the web page. Share this tab instead. That's what I should do. There we go. Right here, and let me put this up a little bit larger because I know it's hard to see in this screen. There we go. And the Secretary of State, she's leaving today. And on the final day, Secretary of State issues Kotek a violation report. Isn't this interesting? On the very last day of the Oregon of State's job, LaVon Griffin Valade released her audits division report on Oregon Governor Tina Kotek's conflict of interest investigation regarding her spouse and other office issues. And here is what they found as detailed by the Willamette Week. Governor Kotek unlawfully extended paid parking benefits to her spouse and another official as well. Well, isn't that nice? That's nice. I guess those are the perks of being the wife of the female governor. Okay. Governor Kotek's office paid for entertainment for an event with no state purpose. Well, isn't that special? So she's paying for events that really have nothing to do with government business. Governor Kotek's office paid for a $6,000 barbecue party event with no state purpose. And by the way, I wasn't even invited. I love barbecue. Come on. I mean, really, Kotek. I mean, you should have invited me out there. I love brisket. I didn't even think you leftists eat barbecue. I mean, what were you barbecuing? Kale? I don't know. I don't get it. I thought they were all vegetarians. Governor Kotek's parties with no state purpose fits the pattern for her other scandal, the $200,000 conference event for her spouse where only 28 people attended. Whoa, 28 people. They spent $200,000 on a conference and only 28 people showed up. That's a lot of cocaine money there. I don't know. What did the money go up their nose? Did the money go to hookers? I mean, really, seriously, $200,000? What are you paying for to get only 28 people to show up? Previously, and then continue with the article. Previously, Governor Kotek had come under fire for dedicating a $143,000 staff employee as an assistant to her spouse, as well as office space. The spouse is also under fire for lobbying, which can violate Oregon ethic laws. 4 top governor officials resigned during this unfolding scandal. And why else would they resign if they truly didn't believe that, she was guilty of something? And I truly believe she was guilty of something. It's right there in the report from her own Secretary of State. Yeah, I think they need to do something about this woman. I think that she needs to be taken care of. And I don't mean someone should go out and take care of her as in do something bad to her. I think that we should, I don't know if a recall is due. I mean, how many times did we try to recall Governor Brown? That just didn't seem to work. That just didn't seem to work at all. Here was another article that was interesting that I had talked about previously on the show, and that was about the teacher who refused to use preferred pronouns. That teacher just got $450,000 in a settlement. And what can I tell you? It's pretty sad that people don't understand that you cannot force people to use the language uh, that you want them to use, because there's, this thing called free speech. We got the First Amendment here, but an Ohio teacher who resigned after refusing to use students' preferred pronouns and names will receive a $450,000 settlement from her school district. Vivian Garate, yeah, maybe that's it, sued the Jackson local school district for 2022, and the settlement was reached last month. The New York Post reported over the weekend she was aided in her suit by Alliance Defending Freedom, which released a statement to NBC4 last week. Now, I want you guys to remember that name of this group. The name of this group, once again, is the Alliance Defending Freedom. I've never dealt with this group, but here's the thing. If you're in business, or if you work for the government, whether it be a city, a county, or any other taxing district, you work for the government, at some point in time, especially in Oregon, they're going to try to force DEI policies down your throat, and they're going to try to make you do things that you really don't want to do. And so you need to have the backing of groups who are willing to fight these cases, because these are larger groups who have the money backing and the supporters and the attorneys to fight these cases, where an individual won't have that. That's in fact how I went and stopped the pride flag policy that was being pushed by Coos Bay, which by the way, that law still stands. They have an unconstitutional law standing in Coos Bay. That tells you how good Drew Farmer was. He was the one who promoted that law. This was his baby, and the pride flag policy. And of course, that law was ruled unconstitutional unanimously, meaning the leftists even thought it was unconstitutional that they were only putting pride flags up on the boardwalk. The city of Coos Bay was doing that. That law was unconstitutional, but that law still stands in Coos Bay. And I think it's time that maybe the city council of Coos Bay decides to get rid of that unconstitutional law and go back to their regular flag policy. Who knows if Drew Farmer will try to push that on the county level. I looked at the agenda this week, and they have a Board of Commissioners meeting tomorrow. It'll be the first regular meeting that Drew Farmer will be at as a commissioner. He will be sitting on the board. And by the way, they'll be voting for the chair and the vice chair. So that will be an interesting position, because right now Rod Taylor is the chair, which if you're the chair of the board, you get to decide what goes on the agenda. That's the nice thing about being the chair of the board. The other commissioners can put things on the agenda, but really it comes down to the chair, whether he wants to do it or not. And so, it's going to be interesting to see who picks up that chairship. It may be John, it may be Drew, but Rod is probably not going to get it again, because he's already had it, and they usually rotate on those, which would be a good idea. So I'm going to be there tomorrow. I'm going to try to get out there tomorrow at the meeting, since it's Drew's first meeting, and we'll see what's happening out there. Bandon just passed a tax. The Bandon School District passed a tax by a vote of the board, which should be unconstitutional. The voters should vote on any tax increase, but the people aren't going to be taxed. It's the developers. It's for people who develop property. And so they need the county to collect those taxes. And that's going to be discussed tomorrow at 9:30. And let's see if I should have that here. Yeah, I'll just add that right now. Add that to the stage. BOC meeting tomorrow at the Owen Building, 201 North Adams in Coquille, Oregon, 9:30 a.m. Tuesday, January 7th. And if you want to know what's happening in your community, you got to go to these meetings, man. You got to go to these meetings and see what's happening. That's the only way you're going to find out what's going on. So tomorrow morning at 9:30, I would highly recommend it. And like I said, it's Drew Farmer's first meeting. So I would highly recommend all of you who are worried about the direction of this county, you damn well better be at the meeting tomorrow, because it's the start of a whole new term of one of the most leftist people right now to be sitting on that board. And I know Drew Farmer tries to play himself off as a moderate, but his woke policy, the woke agenda, the gay agenda that he's been promoting in Coos Bay, it's not moderate. In fact, it's far left. So and I have nothing against Drew personally. In fact, I think he's a fairly nice guy. I don't always trust everything he tells me, but I don't trust anything any politician tells me anymore. That's just the way life is. It's trust but verify. That's what the Ronald Reagan used to say. Yes, very good quote from Ronald Reagan. And of course, tomorrow night, the Coos Bay City Council meeting, the City Hall building. That's where they have that council meeting. It's 500 Central Avenue, Coos Bay, Oregon. That's happening at 6 p.m. Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. So you can go to the meeting at the county in the morning and then go to the next meeting at Coos Bay. And I can't remember what I can't even remember what counselors won over in Coos Bay. That's how little at this point I care about what they're doing in the city. I didn't see much happening. And if something does happen, I'll be sure to go over there and check it out. But you need to get out to these local meetings, because that's where all the good stuff is happening. You want to know about all the good stuff. And let's see, I had another story that I thought was very relevant, and you probably needed to know. Let's see, right here. Let me go ahead and make that a full screen picture here. And what it is the new laws that have taken place. They've already taken effect on January 1st. You have Senate Bill 1553, which bans drug use on public transit, with penalties of up to a year in jail or a $6,250 fine. So all you druggies, you're not going to be able to use your drugs on the public transit. Oh my, who uses drugs? How do you even use drugs on the public transit? Have you ever ridden on one of those buses, those CCAT buses? They're so bouncy. I don't know how can you smoke meth on one of those bouncy buses? I don't get it. You certainly couldn't snort a line and shooting up. My God, how could you do that on the bus? But then again, you would be amazed at the things and ways that these druggies are able to use their drugs. One of the second laws that was passed was House Bill 4145, introduces stricter penalties for creating and sharing media depicting animal abuse, including up to 5 years in prison. Well, that's one of those things where, the way photographs can be manipulated, it may be impossible to, have you ever seen one of those Humane Society commercials where they show the sad dog sitting in the cage and he has a chain around his neck and he's all cold? It's very sad. And I hate people who are mean to dogs. I love dogs. It's just frustrating to me when people are abusive to animals. And I really get ticked off when I see these homeless people dragging a dog around behind them. But, and that should be animal cruelty there. If you can't provide for yourself, how can you provide for an animal? And so I think that's more of a problem than people on media depicting animal abuse, because if I showed a stampede of horses and some of the horses go down, meaning they fall down, some of them are probably going to break their legs. Some of them are going to be biting each other. Some of the horses fight in the pack. Is that considered abuse? I'm going to have to read that bill, because that sounds like one of those bills that could be used, I don't know, to go after somebody who's really not portraying animal abuse. It just may be something that animals do with each other, and that's just what happens. House Bill 4147 allows stop arm cameras on school buses to catch drivers who ignore safety lights, and extends diesel bus retrofit deadlines to 2026, which, okay, this is a bad bill. It would be a good bill if it just had the cameras in it. I'm all about keeping the kids safe. That is absolutely job number one. We got to keep our kids safe. These are innocent kids. They need to be protected. And so if they want to put stop arm cameras on school buses, I think it's a really good thing. But what they did here is this is one of those bills where they attached two different subjects together that probably, if the latter subject, the one about the safety light, or extends the diesel bus retrofit deadline to 2026, if that wasn't on this bill, 4147, that would be a great bill. That would be an excellent bill. But unfortunately, that part of it, which is going to force the cities and our next, not the cities, but the school districts to buy electric buses or retrofit the diesels for a mandatory deadline of 2026, that's just going to cost us more money. And then the school districts are going to come to us, the taxpayers, and ask for more money. Once again, this is more of that regulations that, well, is just superfluous. It's just unnecessary. It's totally superfluous. Senate Bill 1532 mandates culturally responsive education plans for immigration and refugee students with biennial progress reports. Biennial. Yeah. Okay. So what they're trying to do is they're creating more and more education that we're going to pay for. And that's what they're going to be providing to immigrants. In other words, illegal aliens, people who invaded this country, and refugees. They always got to put in the word refugees, and that none of these people who are coming here, most of them, 99% of them are not refugees. There are places where there are wars and horrific things going on. You might be able to declare someone a refugee, but 99% of the people who are coming here are not refugees. And I don't think that we should make plans on expanding the educational process for these people. I think these people, I think they should be deported, and that mass deportations that Donald Trump is planning might help this problem. So that's a good thing. So Senate Bill 1533 expands voters' pamphlets transitions to more languages in each county to improve accessibility, meaning that not only are they going to print it in Spanish, they're going to print it in Arabic, they're going to print it in Swahili, they're going to print it in God knows how many languages. And once again, this is going to cost the taxpayers a fortune. And I don't know, maybe I'm a racist, maybe I'm a bigot, maybe I have prejudice, but I think if you come to this country, especially if you come to this country illegally, you damn well better learn the language, okay? I wouldn't go to Mexico or any other country that doesn't speak English and expect them to speak my language. I would expect that I would have to learn their language if I want to live in their country. Even in Britain, you ever watch those English movies? I love those English gangster movies, but even some of them, they talk so fast with that British English that they use that I can't even understand some of the things they're saying. So I don't think we should be having once again all this stuff to benefit people who came here illegally. I think that's absolutely, it's incredulous, and there's no purpose to it, because if you come to this country, damn well better learn to speak the language. Senate Bill 1508 caps insulin cost at $35 per month and prohibits using quality of life metrics in Oregon health plan coverage decisions, ensuring fair treatment for people with chronic conditions and disabilities. Now, how are they going to force the pharmaceutical companies to provide that at $35 if it costs more than $35 to make that insulin? I mean, I and believe me, I'm no fan of pharmaceutical companies. I think they make way too much money. But when you tell a company that they can't sell something at a higher cost, even though they need to sell it at a higher cost to make a profit, you start that practice. Where does it end? I mean, are you going to do that at the grocery store? Because I tell you what happens if the grocery store, if they're forced to sell milk at let's say they're forced to sell milk at $1 a pop for a gallon. Right now, what is milk? About $3 and something. I think milk is about $3 and something. But if you go and you buy milk and they tell the stores, hey, you can only charge $1, but yet the stores are having to pay $2 for that gallon of milk. Guess what's going to happen? You ain't going to get any milk because they ain't going to provide it. If they're forced to sell it at a price that they can't afford, it's just going to happen. They're not going to be able to provide this stuff. So there's some of those new laws, and I can tell you right now, next year at this time, when I'm reading the new laws, and I usually do this every year. I've done this on the radio for 5 years. Can't remember if I did it last year or not, but last year was one of those transition years. So it was very confusing and hectic, but no, I'm doing it again this year. I always tell people what the new laws are so they can be prepared for that, because they're always putting new laws on the books all the time. And they expect you, the populace, to know what they're spitting out when you don't have a clue. Why? Because you're working your ass off to pay the taxes that they force on you. So, it's just sad state of affairs, what's going on. And next year, I can guarantee you the laws that are going to come out of the legislature are going to be absolutely insane. I assure you right now, it's going to be absolutely insane what they're going to be pushing down our throats. So you get ready for it. It is happening. It's going to happen. And I don't know what we can do about it, because the state itself is wasting a lot of money on stupid stuff, on stuff that, it is just, like I said, superfluous. It's superfluous because of the fact it's unnecessary, it's unneeded. And this is another one of those things. Let me share this page, add to this to the stage. The state of Oregon, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We were just talking about that earlier. And, anywhere else in this country that voted for the states that went for Trump, they're tired of DEI. Oregon, oh no, we're not tired of DEI. We need to have more of that shoved down our throat. You're gonna love this. You know how much they spent on DEI? The state of Oregon spends over $70 million annually on DEI staffing in mission to redistribute resources, power, and opportunity across the state. I've been saying that all along. DEI is nothing but a redistribution scam. It's the diversity, equity, and inclusion. The second word, equity, is nothing but redistribution. You can call it redistribution. It should be DRI. Diversity, redistribution, and inclusion. But of course, the inclusion only means that people are included for the fact that some of you are going to pay and some of you are going to receive. That's right. That's how we're divided into the inclusionary thing. And the only way you can be included is if you're one of those groups. Are you someone who's going to be mooching off the system, or are you someone who's going to be paying for the system? And it looks like here that $70 million to redistribute wealth in Oregon, that is the problem with this state right here. One of the main problems with this state. And what really ticks me off about this is that in North Bend, they still have a urban renewal. I don't even know where that link was, but they have an urban renewal project where they have a grant for this building. And to receive that grant, you have to qualify for it, but they're going to give special privileges, special preference to minorities. And I know people are saying, well, Rob, the poor minorities, they've been oppressed. They've been downtrodden all these years. Well, I got news for you. We've all been oppressed. We've all been downtrodden. There's nobody from any ethnicity who's never experienced oppression. We've all experienced it. We've all experienced, I haven't experienced it, what the Jews experienced in Germany. I certainly haven't experienced that. But the fact is that we've all experienced oppression, and we should all be treated equally, not based on DEI qualifications. And that's what they're doing in North Bend. And what really ticks me off is that when they say they want to give preferential treatment to people in North Bend, I want to show you some of the people they want to give preferential treatment to. Let me see if I can get this video up here.
Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Come
That's right. Back to Europe. Oh, you damn whiteys. Yeah, we're tired of you whiteys. Who are you? You came over here several centuries ago. You built up one of the greatest nations to ever grace this planet. And yet here we are telling the whitey to go home. But why are they here? Why the hell is that fat bitch in my country? And I don't mean my country as in I own this country, as in a familiarity, like my friends. My friends are not that bitch's friends. They're my friends. I don't own them, but they are my friends. Well, just like that, my country, how long has that fat, obnoxious bitch been in this country? And all those people there yelling that the white people need to go back to Europe. And then you have cities here in a conservative county like North Bend saying they're going to give preferential treatment to like that fat bitch who was in the middle of the road screaming, go home, white people, go back to Europe. They would give her preferential treatment over me. If I and that crazy lady who was in the crowd screaming those horribly racist language that she was using, if I and her, if we were at the city and we were applying for that grant from North Bend, guess what? If we had the same offer for the city to get that grant, she would get preferred treatment. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel, Coos County? How does that make you feel that your tax dollars are to be spent on a grant that might actually go to a person who actually is a racist, is allowed to be a racist? Why? Because they're an oppressed group. The only ones who can't be, nobody who can't be prejudiced or have bias, well, that's white people. We're not allowed. We're not allowed to have any of those biases. Only other people, only other ethnicities, as if white people was a single ethnicity. White people make up all kinds of ethnicities. I'm Irish and I'm nothing like the Swedish. So it's insulting when they do that. And when the city of North Bend says they're going to give preferential treatment to minorities, like that crazy racist woman standing in the streets saying those horribly racist statements, and she should be thankful, because if she was in some other countries, she would have been arrested. She wouldn't have been allowed to say that. The fact she's a woman, if she was in one of those Muslim countries, no, they would have a hijabi. What is it called? Now I can't even think of the clothing they make women wear over their face. I don't even know if she would even be allowed to talk. So she should be damn thankful that she's in a country where she's got free speech. But it ticks me off that the city of North Bend would give that woman preferential treatment over anyone else. Most of the people of this county. Why? Because most of the people of this county are lily white people. And it's not their fault. It's nothing they should be ashamed of. In fact, there's nothing to be ashamed of to being white at all. But that's what the city of North Bend wants you to do. Wants you to continue these DEI policies. And I know Coos Bay is pushing these DEI policies as well. I don't know. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I want to get out of it. And so, I don't know. Call the city of North Bend. Talk to David Milliron. Ask him why he's a racist. Ask him why he's an anti-white whitey. That's right. David Milliron is an anti-white whitey. And those city councilors on North Bend, there was who was was it Pat Goodall? I think that was the name of the counselor who was opposed to that DEI loyalty affidavit they're now making businesses sign in North Bend. The affidavit that asks you if you're already upholding the laws that are already on the book, because if the business wasn't upholding those laws, they would be fined, they would be sued. So the city doesn't need this affidavit, but they're doing it because, well, they're anti-white whites. And why is the entire council of North Bend, who is made up of mostly white people, except for the new counselor, she's Hispanic. Let me ask you this. That's a good question here. If the city of North Bend gives special preference to like that crazy lady, that crazy Muslim lady I just showed you in the street, if they'll give her special preference over you, me, and any other white person, then shouldn't the city council of North Bend give special preference to the new city councilor who's Hispanic and allow her 2 votes on the board? I think they should. In fact, I think they should go further. Every whitey Every single whitey on the North Bend City Council, including the mayor, Jessica Engel herself, she's as lily white as you can get. All of them should resign, and they should find a minority to replace them in their position. I mean, why not? Isn't that how they're treating us? We have to be treated and be discriminated against, and we're told we have to be discriminated against because in the past, as other minorities have been discriminated against. So how do we make up for that discrimination? Well, we create new discrimination against people who may or may not have been part of the original discrimination. That's right. That's how you fight discrimination. You discriminate more. But so the city of North Bend, I truly believe that they should give two votes to the Hispanic city councilor, and all those whiteys, all you cracker ass people on the city council of North Bend, all of you, I think you should leave. I think you should leave the city. Oh, and I think David Milliron should be fired, and they should find a nice black or brown person to replace him. I do believe that. If that's the case, then why doesn't the city of North Bend give special preference to the city manager? He needs some DEI, and he's kind of white looking. Actually, he's a very fat, white looking guy. And as someone who's a fat, white looking guy myself, I can say that, it's okay. I can't discriminate against myself. So I believe that we should replace David Milliron, because we need to give preferential treatment to other ethnicities, and we should replace everyone on the city of North Bend, and this should be done in the city of Coos Bay. I don't know if they have any minorities on. I guess they got DeNova. Is she considered a minority? I don't know. But I guess DeNova and this Hispanic lady on the council of North Bend, they should be given 2 votes to every white person on the city council's 1 vote. That would be fair, right? That's what you want. That's where we're going in this country, or at least this state. I mean, the country was going that way. Thank goodness that Donald Trump won and is going to basically kill DEI and a lot of the federal government. But it's flourishing here in Oregon, and it's flourishing right here in our county. And you people, if you give a damn about your kids, you think your kids are going to, at some point, they're going to grow up and they're going to have businesses in this county. Do you think they should be discriminated against with policies that give preferential treatment to minorities, including minorities who are standing in the street of New York shouting death to Jews and yelling at white people, telling them they need to go back to Europe? I don't think so. I don't know. Let me see what some of the comments are here. Oh, let's see. Jeff PD, drag queen book reading probably. I don't know when he was going with that. Let's see. I can't go up. Let's see. Marty says, how does a recall work if VPN doesn't? I don't know. I'm not sure what you're asking there. Vote by mail doesn't work. So how does a recall work if vote by mail doesn't? I'm not sure I get that one, Marty. I don't know. I'd have to talk to you about that. I'm not sure. Drug usage isn't allowed in the parks, and yet they do. Another useless law. Yes, and I agree with you, Ashley. That's the problem. I keep saying this. It wasn't, measure, I forget which measure it was that legalized. Was it measure 114? It decriminalized drugs. It didn't legalize drugs. It was a bad bill, very bad bill. But it wasn't the drug decriminalization that caused the problem. It was the lack of enforcing all the other laws. That is the problem. You can't crap in the street. That's against the law. You can't use drugs in the street. That's against the law. You can't use drugs on public property. That's against the law. And yet they don't enforce those laws. That's the problem right there. And like, Doug Washington was talking about how they call it, the homeless people living on the sidewalk. Oh, they're camping. They're camping. No. When you and your family go out to the woods next to the river and you got a tent, you're only going to be there for the weekend. That's camping. Living on the public sidewalk, that is loitering and violating our right to access to the sidewalk that we pay for. It's not being used for the purposes that we're paying. We're paying to be able to walk on the sidewalk. And in some places in the Empire neighborhood, this is true. You can't even walk on the sidewalk because you got some bum there. So yeah, drug usage It isn't allowed in the parks. It isn't. But yet another useless law. They don't enforce it. It's the lawlessness that's the problem. It's not the drugs. It's not the guns. It's the lawlessness. You got the same people committing the same crimes over and over again. All you have to do is lock that part of the population up when they commit crimes and are found guilty for those crimes. And you would find that all of these problems would go away, much like other states who are still punishing prisoners. I don't know. Just my 2 cents worth. Jeff P says, no more hunting photos or videos. Yeah, I guess not. That's true. If you showed a deer and you're skinning the deer, is that going to be considered abuse? I mean, if you're milking a goat and is that going to be considered abuse? I don't know. I mean, how about if I'm sitting in a restaurant and I'm eating a New York strip? Is that going to be considered abuse? I really need to look into this law. This is a new law. This is once again, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see how many people get snared in under that law, because I imagine it's going to be one of those free speech issues. You have the right to show abuse if it's abuse. Just because you're showing a picture of an animal being abused doesn't mean you were the one who were the abuser. And you might be showing it to show people that there are animals being abused. And well, we need to do something about that. Let's see. Jeff Pete says, be forced to hire Sal Carruthers because of his sexual choice deviations. Be forced to hire Sal Carruthers. Yeah, that's where they're going to. They're telling you who you can and cannot hire in businesses. They're telling you, and it's not small businesses that are hit yet. They'll come for the small businesses, but major companies, yeah, they're starting more and more. They're practicing these DEI quotas. It's really bad. Hajib. Yes, Hajib. That was the name that I was looking for, the Hajib. Yeah, let's see. Avery Horton can only fill many positions. That's right. Avery should be. Avery, I don't know if he lives in the city of Bandon, but we should just make him mayor of Bandon. He's the only black man I know in Bandon. Well, I think there's that one other guy. There may be one other guy. But, Avery, he's the only black guy I know here in Bandon. We should make him chair of the Coos County Commission. There's 3 white guys on the Coos County Commission. Well, we should put Avery Horton there and any other minority we can find. Why? Well, we got to check those boxes. Doesn't matter whether they're qualified or not. We just got to check are you black? Are you gay? Do you have one leg? Are you female? Or you were female and you're now male, or male and you're now female? We check the boxes. That's what they do here. Yeah, Oregon. Going to hell in a handbasket. Well, it's been a wonderful time. I got to get out of here. I really appreciate that Doug Washington came on the show. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was the first time in a while. It's the first time in a while that I've been on Facebook. I hope I get a few more views than I used to on Facebook. I don't know. It seems weird. I've got like 1,400 followers, and yet I'm lucky to even get one response on any of my posts. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just so, I don't know, gruff. Maybe I'm so abrasive. Maybe I just have such a lousy personality that no one on Facebook will go onto my page and like any of my posts. I don't know. Just seems weird that 1,400 people would like my page, and yet I don't get any responses from so many of them. It's just, it's almost like I'm not even seen by those 1,400 people. But it's nice that I can be seen here. You can catch me on Rumble. You can catch me on X. You can catch me on YouTube. And part of that is because I have kick-ass sponsors. I have some of the best sponsors in the world. And today, my one sponsor, 3H Tree Service, they did play Where's 3H Tree Service? And John Smith won. Not James Smith, the guy who's been commenting. John Smith won the prize today. So I want to give a congratulations to them. And I got a new commercial for 3H Tree Service. I would like to play that for you. All right. That was 3H Tree Service and the great group, a great group of guys out there who work for 3H Tree Service. It's a family owned business, it's a veterans owned business. Yeah, the great group. They've been my sponsors for a while. And if you need to have any of those trees removed, they can do it with surgical precisions. 3H Tree Service. Great group of people. Let's see if I can get them up there. 3H Tree Service for all your tree removal needs. And they do micro logging. I still haven't asked Matt micro logging. I still don't know if that means they're taking out small trees or they're doing small areas. I don't know. I'm not sure. Are they out there? Are they logging and harvesting, the bonsai tree? I don't know. Is that micro logging or is it just a smaller area? I don't know. I'm going to have to ask Matt to get that straight. But they are licensed. They got a license. You can see it right there at the bottom of this picture. And they've got a phone number if you need to call them at 541-294-1800. And before I get out of here, I did forget. Let me talk about this meeting that's coming up. It's the land and conservation and the Department of Conservation and Development will be hosting a meeting of the Offshore Wind Energy Roadmap Roundtable on January 9th. This meeting is virtual only, meaning did it really happen? If it's a virtual meeting, did it really happen, or is it just a program on a computer? I don't know, but you may want to read or go to this meeting. If you go to my Facebook page, I have it posted. I have the link posted on my Facebook page, and they're having this meeting at 9 a.m. on the 9th, January 9th, which is just 3 days away. It starts at 9 a.m. It goes to 12 p.m. And then they take a break and come back at 2 and go to 4 p.m. My gosh, what a long meeting. And I don't know what happened, but I missed the last meeting they had at the Mill Casino. I wanted to go to that meeting, and I really don't know. I can't remember what the hell happened. So they're still trying to push those windmills on us. They're really trying to push those wind turbines down our throat, and we voted on it. The county of Curry County and Coos County, we voted on it. 80% of the people in Curry County said, hell no, we don't want those wind turbines. 60% of Coos County has said, hell no, we don't want those wind turbines. And yet they're still trying to force it down our throats. One of my other sponsors, a great guy. In fact, him and his wife took me and my wife out to dinner last night, and we ate at this really cool restaurant in North Bend. It's called the Wildflower, and they were pretty all right. They were pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It was an interesting restaurant. And Tim and Shanna are really credible company, and I appreciate them taking us out to dinner. It was absolutely wonderful. But if you have any automotive needs, you got some automotive needs, you got to get those cars fixed. Well, Tom and Giggs, they can take care of it. Take your car to Tom and Giggs. It's over in the Empire neighborhood at 135 South Shoneman Street. That's 135 South Shoneman Street, right behind the car wash in Empire neighborhood. And anyone who's familiar with the Empire neighborhood, you know where the car wash is. So you want to go to 135 South Shoneman Street if you need to get your car fixed. They also have those RC cars, those remote control cars. They got some really cool ones over there. Really some cool cars over there. And they've got all the parts for those cars. If you got kids or you're a kid at heart, I would recommend going and checking out those RC cars. And if you got some pests you need to get rid of, well, you might want to pick up some of that tannerite while you're at it. Maybe you could get one of those RC cars, put some tannerite on it, and chase some pests around. You got pests on your yard. Well, you can use the RC card, load it with tannerite, and get it right up on those pests, and set off the tannerite. That'd be beautiful. That would be a beautiful thing. Let's see. Herbal choices. They're the choice of most cannabis consumers. Cannabis consumers love herbal choices because you've got a well-lit store and very knowledgeable bud tenders. Now, remember, you have to be 21 or over to go there. And why? That's because you have to have a brain before you start destroying it. And it's not for everybody. But for those people who do partake, Herbal Choices is one of the best dispensaries to go to. And I highly recommend them. They've been a sponsor of my show for many, many, many years. And they've been very loyal and dedicated. And I'm very loyal and dedicated to them. I don't go to any other dispensaries other than Herbal Choices. And if you have any of those herbal needs, Herbal Choices is the place to go. They got 5 stores. One in Reedsport, one in North Bend, one in Coos Bay, and one in Bandon. And don't forget about that great store over in Charleston, Herbal Choices, for all your herbal needs. Oregon Firearms Federation. You like your Second Amendment? You like your Second Amendment rights? Well, this year you might want to consider donating to Oregon Firearms Federation because they got a lot of law fees coming up because they're fighting for our rights in the courts right now. Do you think that the Republican establishment in the Republican Party is helping Kevin Starrett and Oregon Firearms Federation fight for your Second Amendment rights? Do you think they're doing that? No. No, they haven't lifted a finger. Even the phony gun groups that they've created, the ones that Reagan Knope, the son of Tim Knope, created. He created a phony gun group. They couldn't get the endorsement from Oregon Firearms Federation. So the Republicans created this phony gun group just so that they can get their endorsement. Well, don't you buy into it because those people aren't doing a damn thing. The only gun group, the only gun organization, no compromise gun organization is Oregon Firearms. If you want to find out more, I highly recommend you go to OregonFirearms.org. They're not my sponsors, but I like to remind people, if you're in Bandon, check out the Bandon Gun Club. You can find out more at the BandonGunClub.org. Or if you want to sight in your rifle because they don't have a rifle range at the Bandon Gun Club, you can go to the county sports park, the Tioga Sports Park, which is right next to the dump or the refuse. They call it the refuse. It's the dump. I don't know why they give them fancy names. You can find out more at TiogaSportsPark.org. And that's just some of the things that I like to promote. I like to promote gun safety. I like to promote people to become skilled with their firearms. I like to promote groups that are fighting for your rights. And I like to promote businesses that are not woke. The unwoke. They're wide awake. In fact, that's what they should call them. Our businesses, our sponsors are very wide awake. They're not about woke. And that's why they sponsor me. And I appreciate so much the help and support that they have given me over the years. It's absolutely wonderful. And I want to thank every single one of you for tuning in. I do appreciate it. We'll get Doug Washington back on the show in the future because I think we're going to do a special show, a special stream, live stream on that sex offender who's a teacher over at SWAC. Or I don't know if he's a teacher. I'm not sure. I can't remember the facts. We're going to find out the facts. We're going to find out more. And we're going to find out about this guy at SWAC who was a registered sex offender. Let's see. Oh, nope. I did all the comments. Well, I want to thank you all. Ashley, Jeff, Marty, let's see, Oregon Outlaw, James Smith. Yeah, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I always appreciate it. It's, I may not have a huge audience, but I got a dedicated audience. And to me, that's more important than having a huge audience because I know most of the people who tune into this show, they're the activists in this county and the surrounding counties around here. And I appreciate everything they do. Well, you know what it's time for. Let's get some music on here. Yep, it's time to get out of here. I hope to see you for the Friday night rant. Tune in this Friday at 8 o'clock because I don't know what the hell's going to happen. And it'll be just as big a surprise to me as it will be to you. So tune in Friday at 8 o'clock on Rumble, on X, and on YouTube. I don't do Facebook on the Friday night rant because, well, we cuss, we drink, I don't know what Facebook's policy on cussing and drinking are. I just don't want to get kicked off again. I've worked so hard to stay on Facebook by following their crazy rules. So I don't want to get kicked off. So I hope you join me Friday at 8 o'clock. It ought to be one hell of a show. And we're going to have some few people on Monday. I hope we have a guy in here who's going to be talking about the legislative session and some of the things that are going to be happening in Salem that we have to keep our eye on because, well, they're in session starting on the 21st of January. The legislature in Oregon is in session, which means if the legislature is in session, then your wallet and your freedoms are at risk. I can guarantee you that now. So until Friday, folks, you know what I always say? Carry on, Coos County. Carry on.